I'll tell you. All right, sorry about that, guys. I actually need to change a setting in Twitch. I'll do it tomorrow. Excuse me, in Streamlabs, I'll do it tomorrow. I forgot about that. Where if we get like a network delay, it automatically shuts off after like 10 seconds. So my bad. I'll fix that tomorrow. Or if it goes down again, I'll fix it. I don't think I can fix it while we're live. Let me double check real quick. I'm fairly certain that we can't. Let me look though. While you guys are coming back in, we are not on. I've decided not to keep going with Kick because it was annoying. Record. Where is this? Automatically start replay buffer. There's something I have to do. I just can't remember what it is. Anyway, we got any tech support here from Streamlabs? I know there's something I can turn on that makes it so that it keeps going. Not sure. I'll figure it out tomorrow. Hopefully this will work. You're having fun playing with Top Groiper in the Kick chat? Sorry. Wait, can you guys all see each other's chats? Can you see, if you're on Twitch, can you see the Kick chat too, or are you just on both? I'll bring them back next time. I need to get everything set up the right way. We'll do it tomorrow. Oh, you're on Kick? Okay, gotcha. All right. Well, back to Lindsey Graham as we're rolling in here.
A hard choice if you're a Christian. A word of warning.
This is my favorite part. This is what makes me happy.
If America pulls the plug on Israel, God will pull the plug on us. And we're not going to let that happen.
Prophet
So
Lindsey.
I just want to end with this thought. That President Trump has stood with Israel at the most difficult time since its founding. October the 7th was an effort to destroy the state of Israel, the largest loss of Jewish lives.
I don't think that's correct. I don't know if that was to destroy the state of Israel. If it was, that was incredibly miscalculated.
Since the Holocaust, and here we are almost 2 years later, and Israel's the bad guy.
Israel.
That's ridiculous.
It's not.
Israel is not the bad guy.
They are.
They're the good guy.
They're not.
The bad guys are the radical Islamists who would
Also bad guys.
kill everybody in this room if they could.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah. Very passionate. Very, very passionate. This has been everywhere, and this made me laugh. And for context, I didn't know any of this stuff, and so I'm going to read what this tweet said. Let me pull it up both ways here. But this video has been going around everywhere of Kristi Noem, and I recognize the irony of what I'm about to say, and I'm about to make fun of somebody's tech credentials and ability to understand what's happening on the screen in front of them. But this just made me laugh. Here was Kristi Noem on with Patrick Bet David.
From the time I came into this office, it was, Elon and his team were extremely helpful to me. They helped me identify that some of my own employees in my department had downloaded software on my phone and my laptop to spy on me.
Stop it.
To record.
Stop it.
Our meetings.
Wow.
They had done that.
He's so easily convinced. Really? Okay, I just believe you.
To several of the politicals.
Wow.
And so we ended up bringing in people, and that was something that if you didn't have those technology experts here in the department looking at all of our laptops and our phones and recognizing that kind of software, it would still be happening today. So one of the things I need to do and
I guess he's on RT now. I don't know. Anyways, we don't have to play out the rest of that. But here's what this is from VX Underground. So this video is all over social media right now. It's a very silly video. I audibly laughed out loud several times. Elon Musk and co. are not experts in DFIR, which is digital forensics and incident response. No matter how much of a sycophant you are for him or his organizations, Musk has no background in malware, reverse engineering, identification, or development. What I suspect Kristi Noem is referring to in this conversation is the installation of an EDR, or an endpoint detection and response systems. Basically, that is an antivirus that a system administrator can make rules for, and it can add a custom detection and logic, etc. I'd imagine if they had my phone, they would have very strict permissions because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. The reason why I suspect she's referring to an EDR system is she states, Elon and his team helped me identify some of my own employees in my department had downloaded software on my phone and on my laptop to spy on me, record our meetings. They had done that to several other politicals. If an employee working with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security was actively working as an insider threat and performing espionage, spying on politicians and people of power, it would be all over the news. Musk and or Trump would have been screaming about whoever had done it. Additionally, this would be a very serious charge to whoever was identified doing this. It would have been a massive scandal. Now, here's the second super silly thing she said.
continue to do is partner with technology companies. And
I do know how I don't know how hackers work. I know the effects of what hackers can do to you.
Experts to bring them in and help us, because many times in government, and especially in this department, which was extremely neglected, we were just behind and not up to the standard we should be at. I remember the first 4 months, I couldn't even send a PowerPoint over email from the Department of Homeland Security servers that was longer than 6 pages long.
And here's where they say the second is super silly. Noem complains that she was unable to email a PowerPoint presentation to someone because it was too large. She's implying here that there is a technological problem, but it's not. This is done intentionally to prevent data exfiltration. This part I actually understood. The idea is network administrators put data size restrictions in place to prevent data theft. If someone successfully compromised the United States government and was unable to steal data by traditional means, a common exfiltration tool is email. They take the stolen data and send it to a disposable email address to receive it. Hence, if they restrict the size of data allowed to be sent outbound, it makes it substantially more difficult for data exfiltration to occur. If a threat actor tries to send an email with a large attachment, the EDR flags it as potentially suspicious event and notifies the network operators. This could have been me. But it looks like they just gave a dumb lady a phone that was protected because she was a dumb lady, and then she's like, "This is espionage. I'm being spied upon." So that was a fun thing from Kristi Noem. I'll speed through these. Somebody told me, Jen. Somebody said Lauren Boebert tried to explain inflation on Piers Morgan. Will you find that? Because I'm going to show some Lauren Boebert clips here. I want to talk about Hillary Clinton, and I want to actually point out first before we go that I definitely had a blind spot. Admittedly, I had searched Bill Clinton in the Epstein files, and I had never really looked into Hillary Clinton in the Epstein files. Here's something I was unaware of that I feel bad that I was unaware of. There are no accusations or real mentions of Hillary Clinton in the Epstein files. There's no accusation. And the fact that there are all of these men who are in the Epstein files who have actually been accused of things, and the first person that we could bring in was the wife of one of the men who was accused, should be alarming. Also want to say, Hillary Clinton, unlike Donald Trump, and unlike most of these men that are questioning her, complies with congressional subpoenas. She doesn't really have to. There's no reason to, because other people don't, and nothing ever happens to them. What's the government going to do if she doesn't comply with a subpoena? They're going to hold her to that? Well, then what do you do with Jim Jordan and Andy Biggs? What do you do with James Comer? All these people who are currently in open defiance of a congressional subpoena. I don't know if Comer is actually. Let me backtrack that a little bit, but the other two are. So because they have already decided these subpoenas don't mean a goddamn thing, she doesn't really have to comply, but she did. And Lauren Boebert, as we discussed yesterday, broke the rules, took a picture, and then sent it to Benny Johnson so he could tweet it out. And another reminder that she is allegedly fucking Kid Rock, which is gross.
The Oversight Committee you sit on has released these photos of Bill Clinton with all of these women on Epstein Island.
Oh, and Matt Gaetz has sex with underage girls and pays them. So we have an actual sexual abuser here who has covered up sexual abuse. We have this thing here, this Lauren Boebert thing. Where not a lot happening upstairs there. And they are going to smear a woman who had absolutely nothing to do with anything in the Epstein files, and they're going to giggle about it.
Did anyone show those photos to the former First Lady and ask her if that indeed is her husband?
Yes. So the
groundbreaking stuff. Is this your husband? Yes. Gotcha. Groundbreaking, earth-shattering stuff there out of Republicans. Thank God we have them on the case to ask these tough questions about the Epstein files. Hillary Clinton correctly identified her husband. Send in the police. Arrest her now. Lock her up.
The secretary was shown photos of former President Bill Clinton with photos that were released in the Epstein files, and she did admit that it was her husband, but she could not admit where they were, when they were taken, who they were.
Yeah, because she wasn't there. So it's kind of hard for her to identify where a picture was taken when she wasn't there. Do any of you know where this picture was taken? I don't. You know why? Because I wasn't there.
Taken with, and why they were taken, and what he was doing with those women. So it was.
I bet she could identify this was an airplane. It was probably in the sky somewhere.
Very difficult to actually get any truth from her, but we did hear from.
That's true. I don't know. Like, what is this? What is this big gotcha? This is what the Republicans have come out with. They ran to news programs to be like, haha, we got him.
Mrs. Clinton regularly that the committee should ask her husband these questions if we want answers. And so we are going to be asking Bill.
Yeah, why are you asking her? Ask him. Why are you asking her where her husband is in these pictures?
Clinton questions tomorrow and see if he can recall why he was in hot tubs with these young girls and receiving massages from women.
Thanks,
and
Becky.
What exactly he was doing all those times on the Lolita Express and on Jeffrey Epstein's island. Since Hillary Clinton could not recall the conversations that she personally had with her husband once she learned about these images, we are going to take it directly to Bill Clinton himself tomorrow.
Yeah, you were always going to do that. But my question is, why did we bring in Hillary? Maybe tell me why we brought in Hillary. Where do I get my information about Matt Gaetz? From you calling him a pedophile? I'd like to know to get your information. It's a House ethics investigation that was publicly released. So the House ethics investigation into Matt Gaetz, you can go find that, and you can get that there. That's what their conclusion was. But why Hillary? Good question, by the way. I appreciate you fact checking me. No problem with that. Was Matt Gaetz in the Epstein files? I don't think so. I don't know. We can look. He wasn't really very prominent until after Epstein died. I don't remember when Matt Gaetz went to Congress. I guess he was around for that. Let's see. Go to the full library there. It looks like mostly here, just because Epstein always got his, he would get like news sent to him. These all look like news stories to me. I don't see any like emails. But you can look there. Whoever asked me for evidence of their, like, there it is, where they're representing Matt Gaetz trafficked a minor for sex. Well, what is this? Let's see. Gaetz complains about, oh, that's not it. Where's the other one? there a way to, like, can I just go to the, let me go like that? Oh, there it is. There it is. Federal investigators are examining the purported attempt while separately also looking into whether Gates, a Florida Republican, may have violated sex trafficking laws by paying. Yeah. And then the House Ethics Committee did a report on that. So that's where you're going to want to find that. Hey, why does the hat list me, Scary? That makes me feel insecure. How dare you? All right. So that's what Lauren Boebert had to say. And then fucking Jokes McGee over here. This was her joke after she pushes in her, I assume this is her grandson from her sex predator son. Isn't he what did he do? Is that what it was? I take that back. What did her son do? He was arrested for something. I can't remember what it was.
Representative Boebert, can you talk to us about why you sent that picture?
I just returned to my hotel room and installed the bleach bit software and took a camera to my iPad. So I guess in regards to any photos, I do not recall.
Good one. Why did you take that picture and send it to Benny Johnson? I got to my hotel room and installed the bleach bit software and connected it to my computer. So I guess I don't recall. That's not even a joke. I don't even know what that is.
You don't remember sending the picture of Clinton?
He was the kid.
Yeah. Good joke. Really good joke. A lot of Beetlejuice comments here. I don't know anything about that. I know her husband was like he like whipped it out around some minors too. I think he was peeing, but still, don't do that. Yeah. Good people over there in the GOP. Here was one of my new favorite representatives from the fighting congressional 3rd district in Arizona, Yasmin Ansari. Did I get that name right? Is that her? That's her name, right? You guys said that right. I think that's right. Yasmin.
I just stepped out of the deposition with Secretary Clinton that's been going on all day as part of the Oversight Committee's investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. I want to give you a recap of what's been going on. First and foremost, this experience.
No, we know Bleach Bit is a slam to Hillary. The joke didn't make any fucking sense. We understood, she didn't connect it very well. It didn't make sense.
Has been incredibly unserious as it pertains to how the Republicans have been acting. There have been negotiations about this deposition. Secretary Clinton's team had actually asked for it to be public, on camera, that press would be allowed in, and Republicans outright had ignored that and declined that request. And then what happened this morning, pretty quickly into the deposition, was that Congresswoman Lauren Boebert leaked a photo from the deposition where she was showing her name tag and Secretary Clinton. And once that was revealed, the entire thing was paused. There was a lot of frustration about...
have a little self-control. There was no reason to send out that picture. Have a little self-control. Don't go searching for clicks, Bobo. Just a little self-control would be nice. Clinton doesn't have to be there. If you're going to do a closed-door session, why are you taking pictures? And by the way, she didn't want it to be closed doors. It's not like the Clintons are like, we'll only do this privately. The Republicans demanded it. The Democrats and the Clintons both wanted it to happen publicly. I was actually on the side of the Republicans there, but I don't even understand why we were posting it. I don't understand why we took it, why we sent it. I wouldn't have her be in any more of those hearings ever again. She can't keep a very simple rule: don't take pictures and leak them. She did it right in the middle of the meeting. Weird.
About this and the spectacle that Republicans are trying to create, this is a very, very, very serious situation. We are investigating two things right now. We are investigating a serious, massive, unprecedented child sex trafficking ring led by Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and many other people. And we are also investigating an ongoing cover-up by the Trump White House. They have failed to release the full files. They have illegally redacted things. They have withheld information. So the type of behavior that we're seeing from Republicans was really, really, really sickening.
It's desperate. It's gross. Republicans are trying to, it's getting honestly really pathetic. Just ignoring the cover up and trying to pretend that the Democrats are doing something at this point. I don't like when I have to sit here and be like, the Democrats are doing everything right, but they're doing everything right. And all Republicans have is, well, one time the Democrats didn't vote for it when we also didn't vote for it. That's it. And like, Trump released the files. Yeah, he was forced to. That's what. It's all you have. Just acknowledge the cover up. It would be nice. Just so that we could all be like, yeah, Republicans can at some points live in reality.
Given the gravity of the situation, they also, a bunch of them showed up today. Great. None of them showed up last week when we were in Ohio for the deposition with Les Wexner, who is the #1 financial backer of Jeffrey Epstein, billionaire who is responsible for his wealth. So
I don't understand how the process works. It was a deposition that leads to a committee hearing that will be public. Depositions are not public. No. They're going to make the deposition public. Whatever you want to call this. It was this isn't like a regular deposition that you would see before a court hearing. It does not lead to a committee hearing. It can lead to a committee hearing if they want to. It was testimony. She was subpoenaed to testify, and they did it behind closed doors, and then they're going to release the transcript and eventually the video. What happens now is the video and the transcript go to her attorneys and the attorneys in the congressional attorneys, and they make sure that there's nothing that's in there that is either that they agreed wouldn't be made public or something that could potentially have like national security concerns, and then they'll release it. Is this what it's like, women just like being mansplained to by like the dumbest people? There's the overconfidence of these people. You don't understand. Let me explain it to you. And then they just give you the wrong answer. That was the wrong answer, Tom. It was wrong. And if you just stuck around, you would know that we've already covered all that stuff.
I think that's an important thing for everybody to know, because this is supposed to be a serious bipartisan investigation. Second of all, I want to share with you what Hillary Clinton shared with us. She's never met Jeffrey.
Yeah, okay, I get why you hate mansplaining. It's fucking annoying. It's hard. It's hard when somebody confidently is stupid and you have to be like, how do I respond to this?
Epstein. She's never been on his plane. She's never been on his island. They did not know each other. We've demanded as oversight Democrats that the majority release the full transcript of the entirety of the deposition within the next 24 hours so that the American public can see and read it for themselves and make their own determinations about her credibility and her responses. She answered every single question. But again, I think that's important for the public to have.
She did that with Benghazi too. She sat there for, what was it, like 9 hours? Like, whatever you say about Hillary Clinton, I've got my quarrels with Hillary Clinton. She does follow the law when it comes to being subpoenaed and testifying. And none of these Republicans do. They all hide. They don't want to tell the truth. And then it's just crazy. It's just crazy to hear any Republican right now criticizing Hillary Clinton. She showed up. She answered questions. That's more than any of you will do. 11 hours.
And finally, what this experience has confirmed to me 2000% is that we are just getting started with this investigation. This week, the New York Times and NPR reported very damning information, which is that the Department of Justice actually did not release about 50 pages worth of FBI interviews with an individual who has said that when she was a minor, she was raped and abused by Donald Trump. The FBI interviewed
Hillary not knowing where pictures were taken, big scandal. DOJ hiding accusations that Donald Trump abused children, no big deal. That's who the Republican Party is now at this point.
This person 4 times, and they failed and intentionally did not release that to the public. This is a massive, massive, massive deal. I've always said this is the most egregious cover-up in American history. We need to subpoena all of the administration officials who...
All right, we'll leave it there. Different opinions there. Obviously, Lauren Boebert couldn't... They're just like, Hillary didn't know where pictures were taken. Scandal. All right, here's the video you're talking about. So apparently this is Bobo with Piers Morgan. She's going to explain inflation. Is that what this is?
baffles me how a sitting member of Congress can be asked a basic economic question like, what is inflation? And not give a clear, accurate definition. Inflation isn't when things are too
expensive. This is somebody else's video. What she says.
Contributes to prices or directly before launching in
over inflation.
Just do a quick Q&A with you. What is inflation?
Well, inflation is when the price of things is over is too expensive because of the federal government really squandering the tax dollars. So you have the Green New scam, hundreds of billions.
Oh no. No. Oh, Bobo. Oh, I can't fix you.
Of dollars spent there to provide affordable energy, and it was not affordable. It was never free. It was never discounted.
Okay, yeah.
That money was taken from the American people
Yeah, I don't wanna,
and forced into the system. It wasn't a free market
hang on.
decision.
Huh?
Yeah, so my follow-up question was this, though. We both agree America still has inflation.
Wait, why was your follow-up question not, hey, could you try again? Did you understand the question? It feels like you didn't understand what the question was.
Both agree that that means prices are going up. And it seems to me the big problem President Trump has is that notwithstanding that the US economy is in pretty good shape, the average American knows that prices aren't actually coming down. There's still inflation. They are still going up, not at the same rate they were going up, but they are still rising. Do you think that is a problem here for the president?
There is a saying that Ronald Reagan presented saying that there is no such thing as a temporary federal program. There's nothing more permanent than a temporary federal program. And I think that same principle applies here. Yes, there are places that we had to raise prices to deal with this inflation under the previous administration. And it's hard to get those prices back down. And many companies.
She's won a congressional election in 2 different districts in Colorado. Remember she was going to lose, so she moved and then she won the other one. I guess she went to like the dumber one. She's won in 2 different places. Brilliant.
Many small businesses are still trying to recoup from that, but also we still have a federal government that is spending far too much money.
I would give anything to be able to interview her for 30 minutes. I wouldn't even correct her. I would just ask a lot of questions. That if anybody ever wants to give me the greatest gift ever, give me 30 minutes with Bobo and a microphone and let me just ask her questions.
That's why I was a big supporter of the Doge cuts, and we did not cut near enough of what we could have. I think it would be great in the next term if Republicans.
All right. Well, good try. The effort was there. She did say a lot of words. She put a lot of effort in that. Just a reminder, we are crowd-funded. We've got, what do we got? About 2 hours left. Anything you do to help us knock out that gift goal today would be greatly appreciated. You can do PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, or Super Chats. Just a reminder as well, we have paid subscriptions if you want to join us for movie night this coming, not this coming Monday, the next Monday. Make sure you're a paid subscriber either on TikTok, Twitch, or YouTube, and any level of membership gets you in for our movie nights. So thank you guys very much. And even Dollar Train, we knocked that out in a hurry. Ryan says, super busy today, catching some here and there this week. Keep up the good work. Fuck loser MAGA, weak-minded bitches. Oh no. All right. Where's Cell? And what's that username there? Cell 1736. Are you here, Cell? You left the in off the first part of your name. Are you here? Sorry, guys. You know what's about to happen. Cell. I do this thing where I watch videos and I provide commentary. And that's what this channel is. And the videos that I play are available other places without my commentary. And you can go to those other places and you can watch those videos without my commentary. But because you're here and I commentate, we need to teach you a bit of a lesson here. When you complain that I talk and stop videos, you and the entire chat need to suffer together. And that's the only way that we figured out how to make that stop. So for 20 seconds, we are all going to sit in silence because you are a whiny little bitch who can't figure out how to find the videos I'm showing elsewhere. And while we're sitting here in silence for 20 seconds, I want you to think about what you did and all the pain and suffering that you're going to put everybody else here through. And you need to be a team player while you're here, okay? All right, 20 seconds starting now. All right, there we go. Thank you for the gifted subs. Who did the gifted subs? Heather's Cornets. Appreciate it. Thank you very much for those gifted subs. Moving on. Somehow Scott Jennings is getting worse at this. When I told you that their defense of Trump covering up the Epstein files is getting pathetic, this is what I mean. And Scott Jennings is good as they have. This is their best guy. This is their attack dog. And when your attack dog is swinging and missing this badly, you may have lost. But here's Scott Jennings in defense of the cover-up of the Epstein files.
Trump. I mean, if they end up asking him questions, I assume he's going to end up testifying somewhat about the whistleblower status that he has in these files. I mean, the only real true thing that we know is that he called up the police in Florida and said, you need to look at this. You need to look at this guy. You need to look at Ghislaine Maxwell.
He said, the only true thing we know, and then he proceeded to incorrectly state what Donald Trump did. Donald Trump did not call the police and say, hey, you need to look at this guy. He called the police, allegedly. We don't even have proof of that. And he called the sheriff and said, good job, boys. We all knew he was a sick fuck. Now, I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he said. He didn't rat him out. He waited till after he was arrested and then called him and was like, nice, guys. We all knew. So the one thing that Scott Jennings says is, the one thing we know is the thing that we don't know and isn't true.
Is that he called up the police in Florida and said, you need to look at this. You need to look at this guy. You need to look at Ghislaine Maxwell. He was telling them. He was
I also didn't say anything about Ghislaine Maxwell in that phone call.
Warning them about what Jeffrey Epstein was doing. And although you're being quite clear that the president has never been accused of anything, any wrongdoing, you have Democrat after Democrat.
Also not true. He's been accused of a lot of wrongdoing in the Epstein files.
Democrat after Democrat. Even Hillary Clinton, just a little while ago, all too happy to go on television and cast aspersions on his character using this idea that, well, his name appears in the files.
Nope. It's the accusations that appear in the files. It's not that his name is in the files. It's that accusations of criminal activity are in the files. We know those accusations are about him because of his name, so his name is in the files, but it's regarding criminal activity.
Trying to mislead the American people. It's the Steele dossier all over again. That's all this is.
No,
Let's just throw out.
Point out that most of the Steele dossier was verifiable, and some of it was not verifiable, and it was opposition research. But most of the stuff in the Steele dossier is true.
Hold on. And hope it sticks, even though there's no evidence whatsoever.
Hold on. The Steele dossier is completely unrelated to what we're talking about.
If there's a recording of that police call, I haven't seen it. You may be right about that. But as far as I know, it was an unverified report from the Miami Herald. So if it's out there, I haven't seen it.
It is, because it was a bunch of uncorroborated crap, and you're trying to stick it to the guy.
That's not what I'm doing.
The Democrats.
The thing is, if Donald Trump
thank you, Alter Ego, for the gifted subs as well.
Is in fact the whistleblower, and it is shown to be the whistleblower exclusively in these files, why did he fight so hard to prevent Congress from passing this law in the first place?
He signed the law, and they released millions of documents.
There it is. He signed it. Who cares if he threatened everybody not to vote for it for like 6 months? Who cares if he convinced Mike Johnson to shut down Congress and not allow votes on it? Who cares if he was publicly out there saying we'll view it as a hostile act if you guys vote to release the Epstein files? Eventually, he was forced to sign it. Give him credit. Betsy said, it's payday, bitches. Here's Antifa's cut. Thank you very much.
Well, he
try to convince
he
did.
I
mean, he did raise a legitimate issue, which is when you start dumping unredacted and uncorroborated documents out into the public domain, people who have nothing to do with it could be getting hurt, and that's already happened. We had a Democrat member of Congress, Ro Khanna, go down to the House floor and dox 4 guys who had nothing to do with it. So
saying someone's name is not doxing, by the way. So that's not what happened.
He did raise a legitimate issue, but the reality is he signed the law. They've released millions of documents. They may release more based on what they can find. But the only thing
they can find, they're not lost. We're not on a treasure hunt. You don't have to find. How did he get everything wrong here? And Scott Jennings is too smart for this. Like, he knows that he's lying.
We know that's true is that Trump called the police and said, yeah, you need to look into Jeffrey Epstein.
Not true.
And these Democrats trying to cast aspersions on him is ridiculous.
Also, want to point out, where the fuck are you? 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 How come none of you know that Scott Jennings lying? CNN is trash. Not one of you? Not one of you stepped in and went, actually, that's not what the phone call said. Why are you lying? Not one of them knew that? This is why, again, somebody said earlier, like, independent media is the only truthful ones. We, like, in order for us to get views, we have to go to a lot of effort. You guys don't. You show up with your scripted talking points. You don't read anything on your own. You get your makeup done, and you go sit in the chair and bloviate. But that's why nobody watches that shit anymore. All those CNN anchors are actors anyway. I mean, they're all actors. It's true. All right. That's a good point. Keith said, do you get upset when people lie to you and you find out they mislead you? I do. It's wrong. And they're getting paid while lying to your face. Yeah, I don't know why Republicans don't care about being lied to. It's very bizarre. Then we have Paulina Luna. And this is just sick what the Republicans are doing. Anna Paulina Luna came out and said that all of the Epstein survivors have exonerated Trump. That's not true. That's entirely made up. None of them have exonerated Trump. Some of them have said, I don't have any accusations against him. But there's clearly accusations against Donald Trump. And anybody who doesn't have an accusation doesn't mean you're exonerated. And like, it seems like that's the Republicans' platform now. Well, if not all of them say that Trump abused them, then that means none of them. But there are people, Trump says it, and other Republicans say it. Anna Paulina Luna said it, like, he's been totally exonerated. What? He hasn't even been investigated. How is he exonerated?
People are getting arrested.
Oh, sorry, real quick. This is Marina Lacerda, who is one of the Epstein victims. And sorry, this is a little quiet. I don't know if I can make that any louder at all there. Saying, like, this is obviously not true.
Over here, we're doing absolutely nothing except talking about it in the news. And I think what we have to do and continue to do it is ask, why hasn't President Trump, just say, hey, listen, offered himself to say, I'm going to testify, I'm going to clear my name, not say that us, the victims, have exonerated him. Because last night I had, Rep. Anna Paulina Luna say that the victims have exonerated him. I have not yet talked to the DOJ. You think the Trump administration has reached out to myself?
Thanks, Rich.
I can't.
Yeah, the DOJ hasn't talked to anybody. How could they exonerate the president when the DOJ hasn't talked to any of them? How's that possible?
Speaks for my survivor sisters, but I'm pretty close with them. I'm pretty sure they would have shared that with me. So it's something that, we're not a hoax here. I think the hoax is actually them.
All right. Now, the survivors have a different story. Just as a reminder, the allegations against Trump in the Epstein files, one, we should probably get to the bottom of, but two, it is not that his name is in there. In 2019, a woman told the FBI that Jeffrey Epstein repeatedly sexually assaulted her as a minor in the 80s, and that Epstein's the one that introduced her to Trump. She alleged that in a separate incident during roughly 1983 to 1985, Trump assaulted her in a violent and disturbing encounter when she was between 13 and 15 years old. There's an FBI memo summarizing her claims, saying that she asserted that Trump tried to force her to perform oral sex and then struck her in the head when she bit him. A portion of those interviews now are missing. They're just gone from the Epstein files. We know that they should exist, but now they are gone. In an FBI threat operations center tip line compiling calls about Epstein, Trump's name appears alongside a brief allegation that a woman claimed a prominent man, Trump, forced her to perform oral sex, then slapped her and raped her. That's the same one, but another allegation that is missing. Jane Doe 4's lawsuit narrative, where she said Epstein took her to New York to intimate gatherings with other powerful men, some of who assaulted her, though those names are redacted, and we can assume that it's possible during that timeline that one of those men was Trump too. But for some reason, the Justice Department has covered that up, and those names are redacted. In a separate FBI memo based on a victim's interview, a woman said that Ghislaine Maxwell presented her to Donald Trump at a New York area gathering and told her, in effect, Trump likes you, you're lucky, implying that she was being offered. In a 2011 email from Epstein to Ghislaine, it states that Trump spent hours with a victim at Epstein's house, describing the woman as 16, 17, or 18, depending on the version. Multiple investigators have pointed out that at least 3 FBI interview memos with Jane Doe-style accusers are listed in DOJ indexes, but not posted in the public Epstein file database, along with other marginal Trump-related pages. Hardly an exoneration. Your account got banned from YouTube for mentioning this allegation 3 months ago in a live chat? That's crazy. And we'll see. Hopefully I don't get banned here. All right. Moving on here. I want to talk about J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance went to Wisconsin. He took some questions, and J.D. Vance is just riding the blame train. We are now over a year into the Trump administration, and things are going so poorly that their campaign strategy now is to go out and blame Joe Biden. That seems to be their only through line.
Hello, my name is Laura Schulte. I'm a reporter with the Milwaukee.
Oh, real quick. Thank you, Burned Out Medic. Appreciate that. Let me get these real quick. Rich Little, thank you very much, buddy. Good to see you. And there's any other ones. Leanne said, happy Friday. Scott Jennings is a shit. I agree with that.
Journal Sentinel. And in Wisconsin, rural hospitals are struggling. Closures are creating healthcare deserts for parts of the state. And what can be done federally to keep those hospitals open and providing necessary care to community members?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. It's a very, very serious problem.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, this, like so much of else, of what's going on in our country right now, is a problem that we inherited from the last administration. If you look at the number of rural hospital closures that were happening in 2022 and 2023 and 2024, it was really accelerating.
Let's take a look at that. I should have got this before, but let's look at rural hospital closures by year. I have no reason to doubt what he's saying, but let's look at it. I wonder if there's a chart for it, or if we can just pull the data. How far does this go? It's to 2020. It's from 2019. All right, let's just use the AI overview here. Rural hospital closures have accelerated in the U.S. with over 146 closures or conversions reported between 2005 and 2025. Closures peaked in 2020 under Donald Trump, with 19 followed by high rates in 2023. So 2020 was the peak year. 60% of closures since 2005 have occurred in 10 states, particularly in the South and Appalachia. Many hospitals are converting to rural emergency hospitals to maintain outpatient services, though this excludes inpatient care. And the reason for that is financial strain, workforce shortages, service reductions, and distance to care. So we can continue now.
The reasons why, it's not a provision that's talked about as much, but if you look in the big, beautiful bill, the working families tax cut, however you're calling it, in that legislation.
Call it the big piece of shit.
There is a multi-billion-dollar rural hospital fund.
Oh yeah, was it $50 billion? I think it was it $50 billion?
To try to help these rural hospitals.
Yeah, how'd that get in that bill, by the way, JD? You gonna mention that? How'd that get in the bill? It's because rural hospitals came out when you guys were introducing this legislation, and they said, we are all going to have to close because of your cuts to Medicaid and Medicare. And initially, Republicans were like, sorry, but enough people in red states, as we said, like most of these closures are happening in the South and in Appalachia. Enough of these red state members of Congress were like, hey, they're pissed. They're mad at us. They want to have access to healthcare. And so they put in a slush fund. Rather than restoring the Medicaid and Medicare, they were forced to put in a slush fund. So it's not like you wrote the bill that way. And that has an expiration. I think it goes for like 5 years. But you going to tell that part, JD? No, I'm not going to tell that part. I'm not going to tell the part where we fucked up so bad we had to throw $50 billion at these red states that is just a Band-Aid over the problem.
Persevere in tough times, stay open, provide essential services, and get them to a place where they're on firmer financial footing.
How would they get to firmer financial footing if the people that are in their surrounding area are poor and they rely on Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and you are cutting that? How are the people that live there going to pay for these expenses? And if they can't pay to go to a hospital or to get care, then how is the hospital going to make more money? It would be one thing if what you were also doing in these places in the South and in Appalachia, if you were creating economic recovery that is putting more money in their pockets and giving them the ability to pay for healthcare, but that's also not happening. So it's the same plan every time. Blame Joe Biden and then take credit for shit that was a fuck up that you slapped a Band-Aid on. Then there was this question. One of the open questions said, I wanted to ask about healthcare worker shortages in hospitals in Wisconsin. What is this administration doing? And here's what J.D. Vance says, because it's very important to remember that J.D. Vance is entirely owned by his corporate overlords who want to replace all your jobs with AI.
Wanted to ask about the healthcare worker shortages in several hospitals. Hospitals in Wisconsin are experiencing or
Thank you,
are
Walter.
worried about the aging shift, aging demographic shift, and I'm wondering what the administration will do to bolster the health.
It's Appalachia, not Appalachia. Didn't I say Appalachia? Did I say Appalachia? Did I say it wrong? That's weird. I feel like I know that one. Did I say it wrong? How dare I? What a piece of shit I turned out to be. Sorry, start that over.
Wanted to ask about the healthcare worker shortages in several hospitals. Hospitals in Wisconsin are experiencing or are worried about the aging shift, aging demographic shift, and I'm wondering what the administration will do to bolster the healthcare workforce in the coming years.
Yeah, a couple things that we see is one, we're encouraging hospitals and all healthcare providers, and we're seeing some evidence of this.
Remember the question was, what about the workers? Okay. They asked about the workers. Jerry Mandarin said, hi, fellow human. I have money that's not from Soros. Thank you very much.
To use technology to your advantage, right? So if you've got, let's say, a guy who needs to see a doctor, but he can see that doctor from the comfort of his own home, doing a telehealth appointment. Sometimes you got to go into the doctor. Sometimes you can actually do that by just talking to the doctor at home.
So, but the question was about the worker. The question was, what about the healthcare worker shortages in hospitals in Wisconsin? They don't have enough people there in the hospital. We think telehealth is going to fix this?
That we're trying to encourage because that puts less stress on some of the healthcare workers. If you can just see somebody quickly, it's in and out. You don't have to deal with all the paperwork of coming in for a doctor's visit. That's one of the ways that you relieve that stress and shortage that we see in our healthcare work.
People going to hospitals for doctor's visits?
Of course, the other thing is that we're investing a lot to try to make sure that we meet the doctor, the nurse, the physician assistant shortage. The basic problem that we had in our country is that for a long time, we would encourage people to get like women's studies degrees in the United States.
No, that never happened. No, but there's never been any like movement to get people to get women's studies degrees. But again, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? This is so tired. They have absolutely nothing. This is like a 12-year-old trope. Gender studies, these worthless degrees. No, that was never the case.
States of America, which, maybe you need a few of those. I'm not sure how much. But what you really need is doctors. You need nurses. You need people who can work with their hands. You need people who can work on a phone.
Ah, well, fucking thank God you guys cut all that money for the Department of Education to help people get like Pell Grants and FAFSA. Thank God. That'll fix it, JD. We need more people to get college degrees. How are you doing that? By making it harder to get college degrees. Great. Really solving the world's problems, Republicans.
You need people who build and make things and take care of people. And our education system just really underinvested in training the next generation of healthcare workers.
So naturally, we're cutting funding for education. Cool. Megan, thank you for the Antifa dues.
That's not a problem that's going to be solved overnight, but it is something we're working to solve.
Yeah, it probably won't be solved until you dumb bitches get out of office, honestly, because you keep cutting funding for all of that. How the fuck can JD do that with a straight face? I don't know how Republicans lie with so much ease. It's baffling, but it's not going well. Who was it that said like Dems aren't winning? They're winning everywhere. Shut your bitch ass up. They're literally winning every contested election since Trump took office. Democrats are winning. I don't know what you're watching. Here we have a reporter asking, in Wisconsin, the governor has refused to give over the SNAP data along with the voter data. Is there a point where the administration withholds federal funds from Wisconsin? To hell with states' rights, you know? To hell with that. States are supposed to run elections and they're supposed to have their own rules for like SNAP benefits. They are not obligated to give that to the federal government. In fact, there's been like 5 different cases so far, and not one of these cases has the federal government won. The federal government keeps suing people to get access to their voter rolls and their SNAP rolls, and the courts are ruling against them every single time. So perhaps it's against the law.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Matt Smith from WISN TV in Milwaukee. On the fraud efforts and what we saw in Minnesota yesterday, here in Wisconsin, the governor has refused.
You can go to med school with a gender studies degree. A good point. Actually, that's a good point. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Good point. You can still get into med school.
To give over the SNAP data here in the state, along with the voter data. I'm curious, is there a point, or at what point would the administration withhold federal funds from Wisconsin?
Oh, guys, can we make the federal government bigger, please? Please say yes, JD. We really need the federal government to be bigger.
Wisconsin.
Well, look, we're going to look at every option that we have because we've got to stop this terrible fraud, but that is absurd. Ask yourself a question. Why would the government of Wisconsin not want to help us kick fraud off of the welfare rolls and kick fraud off of the voter rolls?
Oh, I got this. Because they don't fucking trust you. That's why. Because you lie about everything. That's why. Also because it's not your role. That's why. Also because states have rights. That's why. There's no reason for them to give them to you. Why would the states have balanced budgets? States don't operate in the negative. The federal government has a $38 trillion hole. Why would you trust the people who can't manage their own finances and they come in, they're like, oh, we'll help you with this. The fuck you will. You guys are bad at this. Don't bring in the people that are just like bankrupting the country and have them fix your state where you are required to have a balanced budget, please. The federal government should not be trusted to root out waste, fraud, and abuse. Of all the governments, state, local, and federal, the federal government is the one that struggles the most to root out waste, fraud, and abuse. They are not the experts on this. They are literally the last people on earth you would want to bring in to fix your finances.
And the only answer I can possibly come up with is because they like to cheat.
Oh, for sure. For sure, that's what it is.
The real explanation. Now, the governor might say, in fact, I'm sure the governor would say this. Let me just be charitable to those who disagree with us.
Oh, thank you.
The governor would say, well, there isn't as much fraud as the Trump administration believes there is. Well, even if that's true, and it's not, but even...
Well, except for the amount of fraud that we have any sort of record for is about $9 billion, and Trump said it's $20 billion. So what do you mean it's not? Are you guys going to provide evidence for any of that at any point?
Even if that's true, let's get what fraud there is off the voter rolls and off the welfare rolls. You know,
that's why they're investigating people. That's why they've been sentencing people to jail. That's why they've had like 90 plus indictments. That's what they're doing. What are you talking about?
The right number of people who should be illegally voting in American elections? 0.
How many have voted? Chat, out of the 20 billion people, or 2 billion, was it 2 billion people that have voted in the last 20 years, how many people voted that did not have the legal right to vote? You guys remember this number? This is from the Heritage Foundation, by the way. Yeah, 24. 24 people out of 2 billion. It's not a problem. They're not after the voter rolls because they want to stop people who are here illegally from voting. There's no evidence that that's even happening.
You know the number of people who should be fraudulently collecting food stamps?
Zero.
I want those benefits to exist for the people who need them. The only way to promise that is to get the fraud out of the system, and that's what we're trying to do in the Trump administration.
Yeah, except for you're not, and you guys are bad at it, and you guys commit fraud all the time, and the states have rights for that. It has nothing to do with waste, fraud, and abuse. This is just how they trick dumbass Republicans into believing, like, being okay with a fascist takeover. That's all they're doing. Like, if you believe what J.D. Vance said, you're just like room temperature IQ. There's not a lot of hope for you. I'd recommend finding some sort of caretaker and having them move in. And best of luck to you with the rest of your life. I'm 100% sure that every time you wipe, something comes up. I know you're not wiping cleanly, so you want to have somebody in there. You have to be so stupid to believe any of this shit. You just have to ignore every piece of evidence that exists and then be like, I know the evidence says one thing, but what about Nick Shirley? I believe Nick Shirley. I think he's got this figured out. The drone. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Thanks. Good to see you, J-Sex. Looking forward to more dumb shit coming out of your mouth. All right. I'm going to skip this stuff. I want to get to the economy real quick. Record-setting economy in the 2025. Now, remember that Donald Trump ran on, he was going to use tariffs because we're getting ripped off because of our trade deficits with other countries. This is a chart here of our trade deficit since 1994. And the trade deficit in orange is petroleum, and then green is everything else. And you'll see that in 2025, we set records. That's cool. Isn't that cool? That we were going to do all these tariffs to fix trade imbalances and it got worse? God, that worked really well, huh? Anything? What happened? Why aren't we talking about trade imbalances anymore? You fixed it, remember? He said that in the State of the Union. We were being ripped off, and now we're not anymore. Well, trade imbalances aren't necessarily being ripped off. I don't think that's a real thing. Like, that's a stupid way to look at economics. But by Trump's measure, he got worse. How'd that happen? How did his solution make things worse? Where's J-Sex? J-Sex, explain this. We'll mute you if you don't. I need J-Sex and I need Patrick to explain this real quick. If you don't answer this, we are going to mute you the rest of the live. You can't just always troll. I've been nice to you guys today, but explain this. How the trade imbalance got worse. Coming back, guys? Come on. All right, 5 seconds, and then mods, feel free to mute them as much as you want the rest of the live. If they don't answer, it's a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, mods, it is open season on J-Sex and Patrick. So mute them as much as you want the rest of the live. All right. So that was cool. This is Justin Wolfers explaining this. If you were concerned that Donald Trump's obvious good policy of using tariffs to fix trade deficits, which clearly doesn't work, if you were worried about the Supreme Court's ruling and that it would undermine good policy, don't worry about that, because everything Donald Trump has said about trade since he's been in office has been a lie. Here you go. Or what did Patrick say? What did you say, Patrick? I didn't see your answer. Scroll up. Write your answer again, Patrick. I'll look for it.
Where does the decision from the Supreme Court leave those previously negotiated framework trade agreements and also the international credibility of the United States now?
Yeah, so It's been a big question, what happens to those agreements? And actually, it's a very funny answer. There basically aren't any agreements.
Your answer was tariffs? Oh, yeah. So the tariffs fucked it up. Got it.
What happened through that whole period, remember 90 deals in 90 days, is Trump would call someone into the Oval Office, you know, the prime minister of some country, and they would meet behind closed doors, and they would come out and they'd hold up a big billboard that had a whole lot of bullet points and say, this is happening and that's happening and so on. But I then did that, and that would make the papers the next day. I then do the next part of the homework, which is to say, did that lead to an actual deal, a real agreement? Can I see signatures on anything here? And in almost every case, there was nothing ever signed. This whole thing was much more reality TV than it was real economics. And so you could say to me, what's happened to those agreements? Well, first of all, Trump himself breached many of them.
Did you guys know that? Did you know that none of these deals were real? They were just all made up? That $18 trillion that he has secured, that's all made up? At any point, are you guys going to realize that everything he says is a lie?
Because he'd signed the agreement, or he didn't sign it, he'd announce the agreement and then add new tariffs. And the second thing is, there's not really an agreement there anyway. So not much is going to change. No one had been trusting us. They're still not going to be trusting us.
Yeah. So what he effectively has done is made our trade imbalance worse because people aren't buying stuff from us anymore. And we still have to import from other countries. Because we don't have manufacturing here. So we're just importing stuff at other countries and then paying excessive taxes on it. And those other countries, through retribution, stopped importing stuff from us that they can get other places because we're a service economy. And so we really actually probably need them more than they need us. And we got double-fisted in the ass. And MAGA's like, yeah, dude, that's right. That's what we love. Let's get double-fisted in the ass some more. Give us a USA chant. Hit us with that USA chant one more time. Who was it? Patrick was not Patrick. JSEX said, so much for freedom of speech. I want you to know you still have the freedom of speech, JSEX. You can say whatever you want, but this is now the Hunger Games, and I'm allowing the mods to hunt you at will. So you're allowed to speak, but if I were you, I would lay low and I would stay quiet so they can't find you. But this is now the Hunger Games where your speech is just showing where you are. It's an indicator. And since you're a big fan of government surveillance and the government knowing where you are at all time, and you're a big fan of the government shutting down free speech, I thought this would be good for you. I thought you might get semi-erect for the first time in months. I thought I was doing you a favor. I thought you wanted to be monitored every move that you make. So I apologize. I might have miscalculated that. Great news, too, from this morning. More good economic news coming out of this administration who said they have fixed everything and have actually fixed nothing.
Up 0.5, and the up 0.5 last month was the hottest since September when we were up 0.7. If you strip out food and energy, it's up 0.8%. That's a 0.5% higher than expected.
PPI and inflation up year over year. It was forecasted to be 2.6%. It came in at plus 0.3 higher than that. Inflation rising. Isn't that what they said would happen? Didn't they say tariffs would cause inflation to rise? When you talked to these corporations, didn't they say we expect to see these price increases coming out beginning of next year? Didn't we have Wall Street Journal report last week that these corporations have said we're not going to shoulder the burden of these tariffs anymore? Which the reality is they had already purchased this stuff before tariffs. And so they didn't have to, but now this stuff that they have is subject to tariffs. So now they're passing that along, and they warned us that you're going to see price increases between 3 and 8%. And look at that. Here comes inflation. Here it comes. Just like everybody who can do math knew. And you guys are just like, no, math is fake. You'll see. You'll see the math is fake. You might lose the House and the Senate. You guys might be real fucked if this trend continues. You've got a problem here. Here back to
1/10 hotter than our last look, and that would equal where we were in July.
Look how great CPI is. It's up so high.
Find a higher number. You're going in the Wayback Machine of March of 22. And strip out energy, food, and trade. It's up 0.5.
All right, there we go. Back to Justin Wolfers here about the state of the United States economy. Oh, no, so excuse me. This is a graph from Steven Ratner. I thought Wolfers posted this. This is non-farm payroll growth. And what you'll see here, this is how much people are making, right? This is the growth in your payroll. You'll see here, this is 2024, the last year of the Biden administration, looking pretty good. And then you can look at the Trump administration. Which one of these is better? MAGA? Which one of these graphs is better for the American people? Would it be the ones on the left or the one on the right? That's true, the Dow. Sorry, I know, I keep forgetting about the Dow. Which one's better? Not very good, right? Didn't he just get done with the State of the Union saying like he fixed everything, everything's going great? Didn't we just do that? All right. Last thing on the economy here, I got a couple videos. There was a roundtable for farmers that was hosted by the Senate Dems. This is Farm Action's Joe Maxwell, and they are coming to before the Senate to essentially beg the government to do something. There's a lot of things that are hurting farmers. One are tariffs, that hurts farmers. So the ending of USAID, that hurts farmers. But also the consolidation of meat packers and of distribution and the amount of money that gets sucked out of farms because of these third-party like processing and delivery systems. So you have these massive corporations. It used to be like if I went to the grocery store when I was a kid and I went and I got beef, that beef was local. And there was a butcher, there was a farmer, there was a butcher, and there was a packer, right? And then they sold it locally, and it kind of stayed around there. But as these massive corporations continue to expand, they buy up all these smaller processing areas and they build a big infrastructure so that they can do factory farming, which is more efficient for them, and then they can send that out. But what that's done is because they have to invest so much money in order to build this infrastructure, they wind up taking more from the farmers. And so the farmers are looking at like the percentage of their revenue significantly over the past 30 years dropping. And now they're at a point where that percentage of revenue that they're getting because of the price of living, it's no longer enough. And so we're bleeding like small and mid-sized farms, and it's all turning into factory farming, which is pretty anti-MAGA, if you ask me.
Today, 63 farmers will go out of business. 63. 63 of my neighbors. And these farmers will be coming here and they're asking for another bailout from Congress. Fourth time in just a little over a year. At the same time, as it's already been evidenced, families are struggling to put food on the table. Farmers are going broke. Families can't feed their kids. And yet across the agriculture and food sectors,
renting the family farm from my corporate overlords to own the libs, yeah.
Dominant corporations are posting record profits. There's a common theme here. Extreme consolidation, lack of competition in our food system. When I began farming in 1980, the top 4 beef packers controlled about 36% of the cattle. Today, it's 85% of the fat cattle. There were 56 fertilizer companies. Today, there's 3 dominant ones, maybe a 4th one. What does it look like on the ground? What happens? How take these numbers and what does it feel like in the market? I'm going to use, they use supply chain disruptions to gouge the consumer and take advantage of the farmer at the farm gate. 3 examples. Avian flu. Egg prices surged 300%. Corporate profits rose tenfold. Production had only fallen 7%, and cost only rose modestly. No competitors increased supply.
So you're talking about the chicken and the egg prices that we've talked about so many times. What the farmers are telling you is that like this did hurt us, but like the cost for us only went up slightly. But the massive corporations who do the distribution and the packaging, they increased their revenue by tenfold. They 10x'd their revenue. They just saw that there was an avian flu and they knew that they could charge more and they could get away with it, and they did it. This is what happens when you sell out to corporations and billionaires. When you guys go, well, if you hate billionaires so bad, you're just jealous. No, it's because they fuck all of us all the time. These massive corporations have one goal and one goal only: make as much money as they possibly can for their investors, and they will do it at the expense of the American people. They'll drive up the price. The farmers here are saying, like, yeah, it cost us more, but like, we pass that along, but it was modest. And then everybody who's not farming makes 10x on their money.
So consumers took it at the grocery store. Fire, they screamed, when a Kansas packing plant was idled, representing 6% of cattle, of the capacity for kill.
Thanks, Damien. You have a good weekend, too.
Dominant firms rushed and pushed cattle prices down, told the farmers, we don't need your cattle. And then told the consumers, oh, there's been a fire, we got to charge you more. It produced the largest farm-to-retail spread in America's history.
The farm-to-retail spread, that's the difference between like what it costs at the farm and when it gets to you at the grocery store. One fire that knocked out 6% of production led to the largest increase in history. Why? Was that supply and demand? No. It was capitalizing off of something bad that happened and lying to you, the consumer, and then raising prices. We've all seen it. I mean, I haven't bought, like my daughter loves steak, so when she's here, a lot of times we have steak. I have steak probably 2 or 3 times a week, but she's been on a chicken wing kick. But for a while, like a steak, I would get just one big steak for the two of us, and it was like $25 for a steak. It's like one piece of meat, $25. And it had been previously like I could get that same steak for $8, $9, $10. And they're telling you, these farmers are telling the truth here. Like we're not benefiting from this. Every time something happens, we get fucked and the corporations make a fortune. And what happens when the farmers get fucked and the corporations make a fortune? The farmer eventually goes under, and then a bigger farm comes and picks up that farm, or they just add to the production. It knocks out a competitor. You got to stop bootlicking for capitalism. It's killing us.
Natural gas prices up, fertilizer companies screamed, as much 200% margins increase. Their profits increased 5 to 7-fold. Fertilizer companies themselves acknowledged at the time, and filings with the SEC, that a large share of their pricing is not tied to their cost, but how much a farmer gets paid. The more bailout money you give the farmers, the more the input companies are going to charge.
Okay. There's where we get stuck in the argument, because that's going to be the Republican argument, right? That bailouts cause prices to go up, and he's acknowledging that. I'm acknowledging that. That's fine. What's the solution? If the solution is no more bailouts, then we're just stuck with factory farms. What's a better solution? Republicans, outside of bailing out, what is your? I'm legitimately curious. If you don't, if we can both acknowledge that when we bail it out, that doesn't mostly go to the farmers, what is the solution then? What can we do to make sure that these farmers can maintain profits and not go under, and that we don't have to bail them out? How can we fix that? I like that. Break up the factory farms. Break up monopolies. Price fixing. Yeah. Have a limit on on how much they can make. Say your profit margins could be 30%, no more. We're talking about profit margins of 500%, 600%, 700%, up to 1,000%. This is where we get stuck, and this is where we get fucked as a country, is that we never really go past this part. Republicans will just say, oh, bailouts bad, no more bailouts, big government bad. But just getting rid of the bailout doesn't fix this problem. It just means we don't do bailouts. Wouldn't you like, I would like it. I certainly would like to know that if I go to the grocery store, that it's a local farmer. I want to know that. I don't like that there's dye in all my meat. I don't like that I have to guess. There's a butcher down the street. I can't even go there that like anymore because it's so expensive. But there is a butcher near me, and it's more expensive. But I know like he's like they're locally sourced cows, and he's the butcher. Locally sourced chicken, he's the butcher. Locally sourced pigs, he's the butcher. That I can feel comfortable with. But we did all this stuff in the name of like, you know, with Walmart and with Kroger and these massive corporations. We did all this in the name of like, oh, well, more buying power means lower prices. But with lower prices, it became, we got worse quality, and then the prices went up anyways. And that's the story of all of these organizations. They come in, they undercut everybody, they run them out, and then they raise the prices. We've been warning about this for years, but it's been unchecked capitalism, unchecked deregulation, and then on top of that, bailouts. Because what are Republicans going to do? What are you going to do? The farmers vote for you. I don't know. God knows why they vote for you. And then you, in order to keep those farmers, you have to bail them out. But then you just fuck them with legislation. That's the problem with the American economy, is that the people with all the money are taking up more of the money now. They're just gobbling up all the money, and they're gobbling up all the businesses. And pretty soon, I mean, raise your hand if you're a business owner here. The number of business owners is going down, especially if you have an actual product. It's going down. I refuse to understand. Oh, no, that's probably not for me.
That's how monopoly power works. That's the results. We also need to confront the role of commodity checkoff programs, because we didn't get here overnight. It was policy. Policy will get us out, but we can't make policy changes here because of something called the commodity checkoff programs. These programs were created to support farmers, but today a large share of mandatory farmer funds flows into marketing and policy, influencing the Congress. They primarily benefit the processors and dominant firms. When trade and lobbying groups come into the Capitol claiming they represent farmers, ask them if they represent the industry, and they usually say yes. The ROI is the industry. That means it's not the farmer, folks. For more than 4 decades, both parties have actually allowed the sliding towards monopoly control. As a young economic major, I learned that markets keep prices fair only when there's competition, and there is no competition. The good news is not inevitable. We got here through policy change. We can get back where we need to be with policy change.
They're worried.
Today,
it's not a partisan issue with him. He said it's both, and it is. That's why we started today's live like going after corporate Democrats. That's why we need money out of politics. All the benefits go to the wealthiest in every industry. Our tax policy works that way. Industry works that way. You and I don't have a voice in Congress, but you know who does? Anybody with a lot of money. Yeah, I agree with that, Mark. Dems have no shame. But if you're saying Dems have no shame and not Republicans have no shame, like nobody's going to take you seriously. Get fucked. Don't do that. I agree with that. I think that there are a bunch of people in Congress that mostly just listen to their lobbyists. If you think that that's a partisan issue, you're out of your fucking mind. You're out of your fucking mind. And nobody should take you seriously. All right, let's talk about some election stuff. We got about an hour left. Great job. Thank you guys so much on the gift goal. A reminder, we are crowdfunded. That's how we keep the lights on here. Anything you guys could do to knock out the gift goal in the next hour would be greatly appreciated, and I'll try and get to those. Also, a reminder, we have paid memberships where you can watch movie nights with us, and starting I think it'll be next Wednesday. I think it's Wednesday. I got to double check that. We're going to watch some congressional hearings together, and those will be live on YouTube and Twitch, but it'll just be members only, and then we'll release those publicly like a couple weeks later. So let's get into some election shit, because it's starting to get alarming. I put this up because this isn't that alarming, but it's kind of funny. This is what is her name? Harmeet Dillon. She is the associate attorney general. I don't know what is her role. What does it say? Yeah, at the DOJ. Okay, gotcha. Here's an announcement that they made today regarding elections, and again, no respect for states' rights here by this administration.
News here at the DOJ Civil Rights Division. Today, we sued 5 additional states for their refusal to turn over voter rolls in response to the Attorney General's request.
Hell yeah. Fuck those states, right? Fuck them. Do what daddy government tells you. Do what daddy federal government tells you to do. Fuck them states. Bragging about suing states now.
Under the Civil Rights Act of 1960. Specifically, we sued West Virginia,
Red state,
Utah,
red state,
Oklahoma,
red state,
Kentucky,
red state,
and New Jersey. This
purple.
brings to
Suing red states. Even the red states don't want to give up their voter rolls. Why do you think red states don't want to give up their voter rolls? Don't really want to give up their sovereignty, right? They don't want to give up their rights. They're telling the federal government, like, hey, I thought we were on the same side, but this is like the ability to run elections and take care of the rolls. That's a state level decision. You guys don't get access to that.
almost 30 states that we are suing in addition to the District of
Also, you haven't won a single one of those cases. So far, 0 for 30.
Columbia, and we will not rest until we have resolved this litigation throughout the United States. Now, speaking of which, we have had a couple of adverse rulings in different courts, so we disagree with them. There's been a hodgepodge of issues that plaintiffs' lawyers have thrown up against the wall. So we have filed our notices of appeal promptly in the Ninth Circuit in the cases in Oregon and California, and we have
We're losing, but we are going to appeal it.
also filed a challenge and appeal in the Sixth Circuit against a recent Michigan ruling. And so
You lost that one too? Oh, okay.
we're going to take those up on appeal with the help of our colleagues in the Solicitor General's office, and we will report to you what happens with the resolution.
Thanks for the strong energy, by the way.
And now, finally,
This is my favorite part.
I'm really proud of an amicus brief that we co-authored with the Solicitor General's office in a case before the Supreme Court. That is
It's just a letter to the Supreme Court. We're very proud of this letter we wrote to the Supreme Court stating our opinion. Very excited about that. We've lost every case, but we wrote a really good letter.
Watson versus Republican National Committee, in which we, the United States, argue that state statutes that allow ballots to continue to trickle in and be counted well after the election day are preempted by the federal law regarding a election day.
Yeah, and you keep losing that argument in court.
And it would be great to have certainty around our elections like just about every other civilized country and even some less civilized countries have.
We do.
And so every day we are thinking of ways here at the Civil
like
Rights
Hester
Division
Prynne.
to improve voter confidence in the outcome of our elections and ensure that only American citizens vote in federal elections and only one time, and that we get those results promptly and that we can count on them. Thank you and stay tuned.
Yeah, really powerful stuff coming out of this loser administration. This was interesting. This is I'm Politics Girl, who's great. But this isn't I Am Politics Girl. Maybe she just reposted it. Oh yeah, she did. That's what it is. This is that's her username there. Can Stranzan. Sorry about that. Living in Kansas. Knowing that the government can do this, and force you to change your ID means that the government believes and can easily force you to, within a moment's hesitation, say your ID is no longer valid. You've got to jump through hoops. What's scary about this is how hard they're trying to make it for people who they don't like to be able to get an ID. And I'll just let her tell the story here.
Driver's License Bureau saying my license is invalid, effective midnight, because that's when it goes into effect. So at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, I have to go to the DMV and get a new license.
Thanks, Jahara.
Because it's invalid. There's no grace period. They're not paying for this. They're not paying to replace it.
Because she is trans. Oh yeah, mods, I wanted to tell you, this was the video I was going to talk about. Anytime we're talking about trans people, mods, full reign. Any transphobia at all, mute them as long as you want. We're not doing this shit. If you guys can't control yourself when a trans person is on the screen, you can get the fuck out or we'll shut you the fuck up. But you've got to start acting like adults. So mods, free reign, mute anybody who's being transphobic.
I drive 25 miles to work. I cannot drive 25 miles without a driver's license, because if I get pulled over without a license, I go to men's prison, and I can't fucking do that. So tomorrow morning, I have to take off work. I have to spend my own money, my own time, and replace the license. They could mail me a new one. They know who everybody is. The letter was waiting for me when I got home in the mailbox. They can mail me a new one. They can mail me a license that's updated and just invalidate the other. But they don't. They make us jump through these fucking hoops because Kansas hates trans people.
So if you're trans, you don't have rights now? Is that what we've decided, Kansas? What's the justification there?
The problem is I love Kansas. I love you. I love the sunsets. You can't see it right now, but I can out my window. I love the sunrises. I love the beauty that is Kansas. I just hate these motherfuckers. And that's why I'm running for state representative, is because I love Kansas, but it makes it super hard to stay. If for some reason I don't win in a year, I don't see myself staying in Kansas. I don't see myself staying in the U.S. But I'm doing my best. I'm sticking it out. I'm toughing it out. But god damn, they make it fucking hard. Anyway, I've been shaking with fury since I got home. That's not good for my health. I love you. Fucking stick it to the man. Pardon my French in this whole video. I'm sorry. Bye.
That's pathetic, Kansas. You guys are pathetic. It's alarmingly pathetic. Like, rarely am I surprised by Republicans, but that's pathetic. The username was, or their TikTok name, I can pull that back up. You can see it here. Sorry.
Hey, I'm Avery Rowland. I'm a transgender woman.
Avery Rowland. And where's the username? There it is. KANSTRANSAN. All right. I bring that up and the last two videos because this story, which I don't know if it feels like it's not getting enough attention, but there's a plan circulating amongst Republicans that lays out how Trump, using executive orders, could seize the elections. You know, that stuff you keep telling us isn't going to happen, but then it keeps happening. Pro-Trump activists who say they're in coordination with the White House are circulating a 17-page draft executive order that claims China interfered in the 2020 election as a basis to declare a national emergency that would unlock extraordinary presidential power over voting. President Donald Trump has repeatedly previewed a plan to mandate voter ID and mail ballots in November's midterm elections, and the activists expect their draft will figure into Trump's promised executive order on the issue. The White House declined to elaborate on Trump's plans because everything has to be a secret, right? It's just a big surprise. Republicans have no worries about that. Whatever he says, we're going to support blindly. We don't care. The emergency would empower the president to ban mail ballots and voting machines as the vectors of foreign interference. Said this guy Tickton. What was his first name? Peter Tickton. The idea of claiming emergency executive powers based on allegations of foreign interference attaches new significance to the administration's actions to reinvestigate the 2020 election. Trump has never accepted defeat while never finding evidence of widespread fraud. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard is leading a review of election security that officials said focuses on foreign influence. Tickton said he's had certain coordination with White House officials, but declined to specify, citing safety concerns. But his input has successfully led to a presidential action before. Tickton represents Tina Peters, a former Colorado County clerk imprisoned on state charges arising from breaking into voting equipment, whom Trump said he pardoned in December, which he couldn't do. The presidential pardon obviously did not free Peters from her 9-year prison term because the president has no power over state crimes, but, fuck the states. It's all about federal government. An earlier version of the proposed draft obtained by the Washington Post cites a 2018 executive order that declared an emergency to impose sanctions on foreign entities targeting election infrastructure. President Joe Biden repeatedly extended that emergency, and in 2024, the Treasury Department used the order to place Iranian and Russian entities under sanction. Last June, Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley released FBI records showing an initial tip alleging a Chinese effort to produce fraudulent driver's licenses. You may remember this, for mail ballots. Suspicions of Chinese ballots spurred the hunt for bamboo fibers in Arizona ballots during a Republican-led audit in 2021, which reaffirmed Joe Biden's victory in the state. The stage is largely being set by the revelations coming out of foreign powers being involved in influencing the 2020 election, said Jerome Corsi, who you might recognize this name, who is the person who helped spread birtherism, and a conspiracy theory involving slain Democratic staffer Seth Rich, which you might remember, which he later was forced to apologize for. The special counsel of Robert Mueller investigated Corsi as a possible link between WikiLeaks and Roger Stone during the 2016 campaign, which Corsi, of course, denied. If there was provable foreign intrusion, that would be a national security emergency, and the order could be issued under his powers as commander-in-chief. So that's their plan. We've been wondering what their plan is. Now we know. Their plan is to somehow blame or claim that China has interfered in our elections and will interfere in our elections, and so he has to use his role as commander-in-chief to then seize the elections, which, again, laid out in Project 2025, which all of you said was fake. The measures listed in the 2025 draft of the proposed executive order include requiring hand-marked and hand-counted paper ballots, requiring voters to register anew for the 2026 midterms with proof of citizenship, and restricting mail ballots to limited circumstances. The draft also proposes authorizing the Justice Department, U.S. Citizen and Immigration Services, the Social Security Administration, and the Postal Service to have a role in identifying ineligible voters. The draft cites emergency authority, and by the way, this is important too, including the Postal Service here, because the Supreme Court just ruled 5-4 today that the Postal Service cannot be held accountable if they lose your ballot. You have to prove that they intentionally lost your ballot. It's a very bizarre 5-4 ruling doesn't happen very often, but 5-4 the Supreme Court ruled that the Postal Service can just lose your ballot if they want to. I wonder where they might wind up losing ballots. The draft cites emergency authority from laws including the National Emergencies Act of 1976, the Federal Information Security Modernization Act of 2014, and the Defense Production Act of 1950. Article 1, Section 4, however, of that pesky thing called the Constitution, assigns power to regulate elections to state legislatures and Congress. There is no role for the president. The executive branch has no role in this. So this is a huge overreach. This is ignoring and a workaround for constitutional powers laid out by our Constitution in Article 1, Section 4. And this is the Trump presidency trying to manufacture a crisis to take control of elections so they are not in the hands of the state and they are not in the hands of Congress, so that it's just Trump and his friends who are in control, and we're just supposed to trust them. For the record, I don't think they can pull this off. It's going to be challenged in the courts, and the courts will issue a stay because it's already the year of the midterms, right? We're already in 2026. We're already in early voting for the primaries. And I can't imagine any court ruling that this is okay. They're going to put a stay on this. If they can't hear it before the midterms, they're just going to stay and they're going to say we have to keep things the same until we can sort through this. I see no scenario where this actually works. It's alarming, but I don't think they can pull it off. I hope that I'm right about that. I think we should be alarmed and be aware of it. But I also want to talk about the actual claims. Let me pull that actually back up so we can get there. The claim from Corsi on Chinese interference here. Where was it? Yeah, this from Chuck Grassley. He put out that report showing and just a tip, just the tip from somebody alleging Chinese effort to produce fraudulent driver's license for mail ballots. And we've looked into the FBI, the DOJ, the first Trump administration, the Biden administration. We've all looked in, they've looked into this excessively. Let me give you a rundown of all the times we've actually looked into this. There's a declassified ICA report, which is an intelligence community assessment entitled Foreign Threats to the 2020 U.S. Federal Elections. And that was done by the Trump administration. It concluded that Russia ran an active influence campaign, but that China did not deploy operations to alter the outcome of the presidential contest. The ICA also states that Chinese leaders considered influencing operations in 2020, but ultimately held back, judging the risk of being caught and harming U.S.-China relations too high compared with potential benefits. The report also notes that a minority view inside the intelligence community, which was just John Ratcliffe, Donald Trump's DNI and buddy, arguing the analysts were underestimating Chinese activity. However, the formal consensus judgment did not find any evidence of outcome-changing interference by China. Then you have Ratcliffe not agreeing with this, so he goes on. In mid-2020, Ratcliffe publicly warned that China posed a greater overall national security and election influence threat than any other nation, and that Beijing preferred Trump to lose. Ratcliffe said that China was engaging in election influence and interference as part of a broader malign activities, for example, propaganda, economic pressure, and attempts to shape U.S. policy debates. Well, that's not election interference, right? If what Russia did is an election interference, then how's this? Like, if Russia was running ads and you're accusing China of propaganda, economic pressure, and attempts to shape U.S. policy debates, that sounds an awful lot like what we do in other countries. That sounds an awful lot like what we do in Venezuela. Sounds an awful lot like what we do in the Middle East. Sounds an awful lot like what Elon Musk and Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance have been doing in the U.K. It kind of sounds like that's what every country does. But he did not. But Ratcliffe did not present public evidence of a specific technical plot like altering votes or hacking machines. So I don't know how this could be a national security issue if they have no evidence. Later reporting notes that Ratcliffe was accused by career intelligence officials that worked for him of pressuring analysts to emphasize China's role in the 2020 election and to downplay Russian interference, which they saw as an outrageous misrepresentation of their findings. But those career intelligence officers refused. They refused to go against their own intelligence to lie for Ratcliffe and Donald Trump. Then you had, as they mentioned here, the fake licenses and mail-in ballots plot. So this was from September 25th of 2020. The same FBI intelligence, or a different, FBI intelligence report relayed a confidential source allegation that the Chinese government was producing large quantities of fraudulent U.S. driver's licenses using data from millions of TikTok users. This led to some pretty funny hearings where like nobody knew what TikTok was. The allegation said that the fake IDs would allow tens of thousands of Chinese students or any immigrants that are sympathetic to the CCP to cast fraudulent mail-in votes for Joe Biden despite not being eligible to vote. The document described the source as having indirect access, with reporting not yet corroborated, and internal FBI comments questioned even the basic points, such as the claim that TikTok sign-up data included valid U.S. address fields that could not support such a scheme. The FBI investigated. They recalled the IIR the same day it was issued, citing concerns about the reliability of their own report. They withdrew their own report within 24 hours, saying, nah, we fucked up. And then in 2025, Grassley and Kash Patel publicized and declassified those records, with Grassley calling them bombshell evidence that FBI headquarters interfered with China interference probe to protect then Director Wray from criticism. They still haven't proven anything. It is so easy to lie to you guys. It is so like, even there's Manthon. The left lies, constantly lies and gaslights. It's sickening. What you're doing right now is you're uncomfortable with information you're being given, and you just call anything that you don't like a lie. I'm citing FBI reports, Trump's own FBI, saying, nah. Ratcliffe's DNI, like, they're like, dude, no, we can't just lie for you. Well, it's the left is lying. Trump is telling the truth. Only Trump can tell the truth. Nobody else can tell the truth. In the current draft and the executive orders, Trump activists who say they're coordinating with the White House, that's the story there. They began to circulate that emergency draft. I don't know anybody. I literally haven't found anybody. No voting rights activists, no members, not even Corsi, who have provided any tangible information that there is any attempt by China to hack our election or cheat in our elections. So, but they'll lie. It works on dumbass Republicans who just believe anything. Anybody, they can just tell you like Dems are bad, they're cheating, and you're like, oh yeah, I know that. I know that the Dems are bad. We'll offer you, by the way, whoever that was that said we lie, I'll offer you a single lie that I told there. Every day we do this. Tell me what we just lied about there, and what the response will be from Republicans is generic shit about their opinions. And I'm saying that they're going to generically spout off their opinions, and they're still going to do it in the chat. This is one of my favorite parts every day, is when we predict your behavior and then you do it anyways. Lee said, have a great weekend. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. You have a great weekend too. We have 40 minutes. Update the gift goal. Nice. We're cruising. You can knock that out in 40 minutes, no problem. All right. This, I don't want to, that's too long of a video. There's a video that we'll drop in the Discord of Mike Flynn being deposed about a lot of this stuff where he got caught lying multiple times, but it's like a 10-minute video. So we're not going to show that, but you can find that in the Discord. I don't remember who it was that told me to find this video, and thank you for whoever that was. This is Lawrence O'Donnell yesterday. And he's talking about this exact memo. And the memo is titled this is the response memo from Adam Schiff titled Armed for Violence.
Armed for Violence. That's the title of the report released by Democratic Senator Adam Schiff. It is a new 33-page report.
No, we're not live on TikTok today. We're banned until tomorrow.
Report revealing that in the last year, Donald Trump has committed at least $144 million to purchase large quantities of weapons and munitions for ICE and Customs and Border Protection. AR-style rifles, tasers, tear gas, other lethal weapons. Senator Schiff's report says, in just 1 year, ICE's spending commitments on weapons, ammunition, and accessories surged fourfold, over 360% when compared to ICE's contracts in 2024. In 2025, CBP's contracts for weapons, ammunition, and accessories doubled when compared to CBP's 2024 totals. Joining us now is
Now, there's two reasons for this, and both of them can be true at the same time. One, ICE obviously has ramped up the amount of people that they hired, and they give them, unfortunately, weapons. But two, this raises a lot of alarms because ICE acts now as like Trump's personal army. They don't follow the law. They don't follow the Constitution. They consistently ignore court orders, and they are armed, and they are saying that they are going to be sent to polling places. So when you have an agency like this that has gone rogue and is acting only in the interest of the president and ignoring oversight, ignoring courts, ignoring Congress, it's time to be worried. It's far past time to be worried that these armed, masked agents are saying that they're going to be going to the polling places.
Democratic Senator Adam Schiff, California. He's a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Senator, thank you very much for joining us tonight. This is the kind of report that is so vital to our understanding of what is happening now. What are the key points of your findings?
Well, oh, J-Sex, here we go. What did I say about ICE that was a lie? J-Sex is about to get muted again. You have to say exactly what the lie is there, J-Sex.
Well, we wanted to go through DHS's contracting records and document just how much they're spending to militarize.
Also, yeah, I was a little drunk during State of the Union. I don't know why that conversation's happening in the chat right now, but I was a little drunk at State of the Union. I've been slightly drunk on lives a few times. I don't drink very often, but I wasn't about to listen to 2 hours of Donald Trump rambling without something.
This new, effectively new police force, this palace guard of the president's that is wreaking such havoc in our cities. And we found dramatic increases in spending on weapons. As you said, ICE agents will be equipped with now 3 to 4 times the amount of weapons as the previous year. Customs and Border Protection doubling their expenditure on the same. And I think what we're seeing is a dangerous combination of a much more heavily armed immigration.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed this one. Deb said, wish it could be a lot more. Jen, thank you for all you do. RTP, don't stop fucking delivering the truth. Thank you. Brad said, I need to know where that butcher is. We'll be in the Valley this weekend. Brad, DM me on, I don't really want to give away my location, and it's pretty close to me. So DM me, and I'll tell you where it is. It's awesome, especially like if you like ribeyes, it's as good as it gets. So did I miss any other ones? I don't think so. Sorry I was late on those. My bad. What did J6 say? That they violated the Constitution and everything else? That they violated the coast? Well, the courts ruled that they violated the Constitution, so that's not a lie. Mute J6 for 5 minutes for not being able to come up with a real lie again.
Law enforcement complex. At the same time, we heard whistleblower testimony this week that they've cut the training for these new ICE agents. And they're getting inadequate training on when to use these weapons and how to use these weapons. That is a really dangerous mix. And we wanted to sound the alarm with this report that we're seeing the emergence of a kind of law enforcement or immigration enforcement industrial complex, because it's not just the weapons. We're seeing dramatic increases in expenditures on detention centers they want to build around the country. And this has a way of gathering its own momentum. and we need to be aware of what's happening, that we're building a not small army now that's going to be policing American streets.
So this brings to mind Donald Trump's so-called border czar, Tom Homan,
Heist feels like handing a grenade to a toddler, like a racist toddler, though.
caught on videotape an undercover FBI video of him accepting $50,000 in cash for this purpose. This is what it was designed for. It was supposed to be about helping people. He was then in the business of helping people get these kinds of contracts. And he was talking
I don't know how many ICE agents there are currently. Patrick, I'll look it up.
about being able to help people get these kinds of contracts, help companies get these kinds of contracts if Donald Trump won the presidential election.
Well, that's exactly right. And we're broadening our look at what DHS
22,000.
is doing, because I think undoubtedly we are going to find just massive amounts of waste and fraud. We're going to find no bid contracting by DHS that, you know, the beneficiaries of which are friends of Kristi Noem and friends of Corey Lewandowski. We have thrown so much money at DHS in that big ugly bill, just billions and billions and billions of dollars, that, you know, they are going to rush to spend that. It is just a feeding frenzy. And so, you know, there's undoubtedly going to be, over time, the exposure of massive amounts of insider deals. So this is just the beginning. This is really the tip of the iceberg in terms of what ICE and DHS and Border Protection are spending, who's going to get the contracts, when contracts are going to be let in a matter of hours without real competition. Undoubtedly, the graft, like in other parts of this Trump administration, will be profound.
And there are hundreds of Trump-friendly lobbyists in Washington who are trying to do exactly what Tom Homan was trying to do when that $50,000 was passed to him. Basically broker these deals for companies who want to sell these weapons.
Peter Grace, we'll talk about Obama when you can actually stay on subject. If you would engage with this, we would go ahead and talk about Obama, but not now. Why? I don't know why you want to live 10 years in the past. When Donald Trump does bad things, all I think about is how can I justify this?
I think that's exactly right. We're already seeing the pardons that are being given out by the president to people that have donated to him or donated to his inaugural committee or this or that, or are represented by close friends of the president. They're managing to get pardons, so pardons seem effectively for sale.
Good. Let's do this. Miss Teddy Tiger said, it's too funny hearing Adam Schiff talking about corruption. What is the corrupt act that Adam Schiff participated in? We're going to need an actual answer here. I'll play this game with you guys all day. Not all day. We got 30 minutes left, but I'm feeling petty right now. Miss Teddy Tiger, the way that this works here is when you make claims and I ask you to verify your claim, you have to give me the claim. Otherwise, you get muted for a little bit. Where's the hat? I didn't know I wasn't wearing a hat. It's crazy. So we'll wait for Miss Teddy Tiger here. Hope you guys are all doing well.
In the Gulf, I think our national security is for sale to the highest bidder that will
Killing the gift gold. Thanks. Hey, howdy.
invest the most in the Trump family cryptocurrencies. We're seeing, I think, really throughout the federal government, at the Justice Department, for example, whether it's, Bondi's family, cutting deals, antitrust cases going away. It is just like a...
No, you have to specific, Patricia Galvin. I appreciate you trying to step in and help your pal, but said he lied and made claims about Trump and Russia and Biden's laptop. Specific claim. You have to tell me specifically what he did, because I don't think you know. I think you've just been told that he's a liar and they call him Shifty Shift, and you just repeat shit because you are all in a cult and you operate like parrots.
The corrupt feeding frenzy with everyone trying to grab as much as they can, knowing that they're just going to have 3 more years to do this, and they need to get while the getting is good.
Senator Adam Schiff, thank you very much for joining.
Yeah. That's the other part. Like, there's the part of how Trump is using ICE to abuse Americans. There's the other part where rich people are getting more rich by overcharging the government to house undocumented immigrants, and in some cases U.S. citizens, and create concentration camps. And because these people flooded Trump with money as he was running, now he has to return the favor by overpaying for real estate and then giving these people millions and millions of dollars in contracts to house undocumented people, which is, again, just taxpayer money that's being blown where we get no return on investment. It's just money that we lose forever, just so that you guys get to say no more immigrants. So that's pretty cool. Very fiscally conservative of you, though. We're going to keep doing this? A liberal literally gaslighting Trump while spewing more conjecture about Trump gaslighting. How did I gaslight? What was the gaslighting that I did there? I don't think you guys know what words mean. I think you're just like, it is bizarre to be on this end and see like multiple Republicans at once, and you guys just all like generically yell stuff. Not a point, never a fact. It's just like, I fucking hate this guy because he doesn't like Trump, and you just see red. And then say everything you say. Yeah, that's what I say. Give me evidence. Everything. It's all bad. I know. We know. Sir Farts a lot. I just like your name. That's not gaslighting. How's he gaslights? Yeah, see? There's nothing. You're all just like bots. It's so wild to see in real time. The worst, your biggest fear is being asked a direct question and giving an answer. All right. Moving on here. 25 minutes. All right. Let's go to this. I want to show you Tammy Duckworth. Tammy Duckworth yesterday, I think it was yesterday, they had Mark Ditlevson, and he is, I don't remember what his he's the Defense Department nominee. And this has been a problem for Republicans over and over in trying to get confirmed, is that they won't be honest. They just won't tell the truth, and they won't answer questions. And some of these questions that they're asked should be the easiest question in the world to ask. If you were in front of a Senate hearing and they said, here is a thing that is directly in violation of the Constitution. If you are directed to do this thing, will you do it? The answer is easy. It's no. No, I wouldn't do. Of course I wouldn't do that. But under the Trump administration, no is not an acceptable answer. The only answer that you're allowed to give is, I'll have to think about it at the time. Oh, I can't engage in hypotheticals. It should be a qualification that if you're going to come in front of Congress and they ask you, will you do this specific unconstitutional thing? If they don't answer that question, they shouldn't get a role. But that's kind of what we do now. It's just the world we live in where you're just not allowed to tell the truth.
If the president labeled a United States-based organization, say...
real quick, Wild, I thought questioning elections was wrong. Wild, when you start saying there's cheating. Nobody has ever said that questioning elections were wrong. We said that you were wrong for questioning an election without evidence. And we're not questioning an election. What we're pointing out is that Donald Trump is doing unconstitutional things or trying to do unconstitutional things. And that should alarm you. And you have decided to ignore everything that we just said and instead play whataboutism with your 11 IQ. And so you came up with that sweet little ditty there. We're not talking about questioning elections. We're talking about actual unconstitutional acts that the courts have ruled unconstitutional and saying Donald Trump is ignoring that. And you're like, this is the same thing as saying that the 2020 election was stolen. I don't think I question your ability to comprehend the things that are said to you. It makes me nervous for you and the people around you. Joel, for the tariff rebate, appreciate that. PM said Soros overpaid me this month. That's always nice. You love the George Soros overpayment. That's the beauty of working for a lib financier. Sometimes, because we're all so stupid, they overpay you sometimes. All right.
American Civil Liberties Union, a domestic terrorist a United States-based organization, say the American Civil Liberties Union, a domestic terrorist organization, which, by the way, is a list with no statutory basis in the United States or international law, would you consider that to be sufficient authority to use military force or resources against any American who affiliates with the ACLU on U.S. soil?
Senator, I can't speculate on that. Okay. What I can assure you is that anything
all of these should be easy commitments, but apparently for you, they are not. And I just need to make something very clear on the record. If the administration was serious about working with blue governors to combat what courts have found to be baseless claims of...
Thank you, Amanda. That was very generous. And say hello to Paul Revere for us. Thanks for sharing that story. And you guys keep up the incredible work you're doing out there in Baltimore.
lawlessness, President Trump would have given Governor Pritzker more than a 2-hour window on Saturday, October 4th, to respond to his official request to call up the Illinois National Guard under Title 32 before he federalized those troops. He gave the governor 2 hours to respond. That is not a serious effort to work with our governors. That is using the military to intimidate political rivals. President Trump is diverting dramatic amounts of troops, military assets, and resources to support federal law enforcement agencies, which are not always trained properly or prepared to use those resources, as the incident of the closing of the El Paso airspace shows. I am concerned that you can't make basic reassurances to this committee as to how you would advise on the calling up of the National Guard to be there at polling places at an election on United States soil.
Clinton, I think you guys are I don't know what's wrong with all of you. You said if you honestly thought Trump steals elections, you would demand ID to vote. You're so full of shit. You dumb motherfucker. Let me try this one more time. To all of you dumb motherfuckers, I am not accusing Donald Trump of stealing elections. I am accusing Donald Trump of doing illegal actions before the election that are unconstitutional. And the courts agree with me that he's taking illegal actions, that he's violating state sovereignty and state rights, and he's demanding that states relinquish those rights based on unverified claims that China cheated in the 2020 election. I don't even know how to respond to your criticisms because it seems like you can't figure out what the fuck I'm saying. So please, for the love of God, I am not claiming that he stole the 2026 election because it has not happened yet. I am not a time traveler. I'm not coming back from the future and telling you that the 2026 election was stolen. I am telling you about illegal acts and unconstitutional acts that he is engaging in, and your brain is like, and then you just come back with, he said he's cheated, he stole it. No, it's not what I said. And you guys should be better than this. You should be smarter than this. I think you can do it. I think you can figure this shit out. And now here's Duckworth again, questioning the same person, just on the acts of intimidation by this administration repeatedly. Again, acts of intimidation, not of stealing an election that hasn't happened yet. Republicans, I am not accusing him of stealing an election in the future. I'm accusing him of doing illegal acts in preparation for an election that, once again, has not fucking happened yet. So please do your very best to try and keep up.
So when I asked you if they're doing logistical support, are they going to be in auto dress uniform with ammunition? You say, oh, well, we're going to let the lawyers decide that. I'm asking you, what would you advise? And you can't commit to your advice. You're just saying, we're going to let the lawyers decide that. And if they decide that we need to blow up the streets of Chicago or any other city of this great nation in order to provide logistical support, then we're going to do that. That is not reassuring to the American people. You cannot intimidate Americans when they go out to vote. It is against the law. It is against code. I just read that code to you. I am at a loss. The American people will not stand for this. I will not stand for it. And my colleagues in Congress should not stand for this administration's attempts to use our nation's military to intimidate Americans from exercising their fundamental right to cast a vote in elections.
So are we going to have to ban the word gaslighting? Jesus Christ. Not one of you is using that word. Did you just all learn that lesson or that word recently? What's going on with you? Do you not know how to engage as humans? This is gaslighting. You're dumber than we thought. Draco's Rose for the gaslighting of maggots. Thank you, Jay, Jen, and the mods for all you do. Keep it up. Thank you very much. That was great timing for that comment to come through. All right. Let's move on to ICE real quick. I'm not going to read this whole story. I think by now most of you probably got it. It's a couple days old, and I didn't get to it yesterday. But not a panel, great. Nearly blind refugee was abandoned by U.S. Border Patrol and then found dead in Buffalo. The story here is this man, Nurul Amin Shah Alam, was picked up by Border Patrol obviously had no problem, was not here illegally. And then Border Patrol, again, a blind man, they dropped him off 5 miles from his house. And they said that the place that they dropped him off at was open and he could have went in there, which, again, just drop him off at his house. This is a blind man. What's the fucking excuse for this? You picked up somebody that you shouldn't have picked up, and then you dropped him off outside in the freezing cold. He's blind. They said that he didn't follow police commands to drop his curtain rod, which he was using as a walking stick, so they tasered and beat him. Yeah, they dropped him off at a Tim Hortons that was closed. Dropped him off about 5 miles from his home. Neither his attorney nor his family were notified of his release. And he had an attorney because he had went in. He had been checked. They didn't tell him that they were releasing him, just dropped him off. And then they came out and they lied. And they said, no, we dropped him off at Tim Hortons. It was open. Well, here's the problem. Now we have the video here. Now it's been obtained. They lied. How many more times do they have to lie about killing American citizens? There they are driving away. Store's not open. Let's see here. That's so pathetic in this country. "5 miles from home, he's illegal." No, he's not here illegally. He's not here illegally. That's why they released him. If he was here illegally, they wouldn't release him. Yeah, that's a good point. One love. You can't tell us that you believe in Christ ever again. Yeah. Defend shit like this. Jamie said, "Happy Friday." Thank you. Alfredo said, "Fuck ICE and fuck dumb maggots." Fair enough. Fuck ICE forever. You guys have become pretty disgusting. This chat today is particularly unhinged. I hope that you guys are all trolls. I really do. I hope that people like you. I hope this isn't your actual existence. I hope that you just get really excited about trolling people and getting people pissed off. Because if these are your real opinions, that's incredibly sad. There's Chris Murphy went on the Senate floor. He did a 20-minute speech about ICE and basically going over the multiple instances of abuse and violation of the law. He then clipped it down, so we don't have to go the whole 20 minutes here, but I want to show you this. I thought this was incredible. We'll probably end on this. Not incredible in a way like I don't feel good about it. I am consistently alarmed when we show stuff like this to see the cruelty coming out of Trump supporters. And all just in the name of I love Donald Trump. We can't ever say anything bad about him. Defending this type of behavior, these types of actions, this cruelty to undocumented immigrants, documented immigrants, and American citizens. There's no explanation for why we need to be this cruel. And watching you guys cheerlead it is pretty fucking gross to see every day. So I apologize. We're not going to leave you on the happiest note today, but I think this is really important. So here's Chris. Chris Murphy.
Screenshot of a video that went viral all across the.
You're so morally superior. Yeah, dude, it's not hard. If me saying that you shouldn't celebrate abusing people makes you feel like I'm morally superior, that says a lot more about you than me. That's the baseline. The baseline is don't celebrate people beating on other people. You're like, oh, look at you on your high horse.
Country about a month ago. The man in this video's name is Ramon Minera. He was stopped by a Border Patrol agent outside his home in a Minneapolis suburb. Ramon Minera was stopped and cuffed because of his accent. This is actually what the agent tells him in this video. If you go online and watch this video, you will hear the agent tell Ramon Minera that he is being detained because he has an accent. Okay, Ramon Minera is a U.S. citizen. Guess what? There are a lot of U.S. citizens who have accents. Frankly, most of us have forefathers that when they came to the United States had an accent. That is not a justification for you to be detained. He was even carrying his ID on him. All the agent had to do was check his ID to confirm that he was a U.S. citizen. But the agent did not check his ID. Instead, that agent arrested him, put his wrists in zip ties, and took him away from his property. He was forcibly detained by Border Patrol, even though he was a U.S. citizen. This didn't happen just once. This has happened thousands of times all across the country. It is still happening today that individuals who are legally in this country are being detained, zip-tied, and arrested because they have an accent, because they look.
Hold on, Duff. You said enforcement can be 100% better. I will reach across the aisle and admit that, but blanket statements that this is a police force that is going out and killing Americans is not morally superior. Hold on. I didn't say they're all killing American citizens. I said that they are killing American citizens, which is true. And like, it would even be another thing if every time they killed an American citizen or anybody that they didn't lie about it. They lie every fucking time they do something wrong. Every fucking time. And since they're all masked, we don't know who to we don't know who to trust. We don't know if some of them are good, some of them are bad. We have no idea. But that's not dishonest for me to say that ICE is killing American citizens. They certainly are. That doesn't mean every ICE agent has killed an American citizen. If we're acting in good faith here, like, I think you can acknowledge, I'm not saying every ICE agent has killed an American citizen. That would be silly, right? Obviously, I know there's 22,000 ICE agents. We mentioned that earlier. There's not 22,000 American citizens who have been murdered by ICE agents. So obviously, that can't be the case, right?
Like, they might be from Mexico or from Central or South America. It gets worse, though. Ramon's 5-year-old daughter was inside and watched this entire incident through the window. 5 years old.
That's a fun comment, and so are the illegals in the country at a rate 100 times out of the agents enforcing the law. It's actually not true. ICE agents per capita commit crimes at a higher rate than undocumented immigrants. You can look that up for yourself. But what you just said, you said 100 times more. Nope, because you do this per capita. ICE agents commit crimes at a higher rate than undocumented immigrants.
To this day, she has refused to go outside since because she fears for the masked men that arrested, zip-tied, and detained her U.S. citizen father. The reason that we are demanding that these indiscriminate roving patrols, these show your papers, arrest you if you have an accent patrols end is because they are fundamentally un-American and they are illegal. And yet they continue.
Look it up. Prove me wrong. You just look it up. Do ICE agents, you go to Perplexity, Google AI, whatever. Do ICE agents commit crimes at higher rates than undocumented immigrants? Look it up. Don't just laugh and be like, that's crazy, bro. I've shown it. You can go back and watch my previous shows. We've shown this. We've shown this stat multiple times. I can't stop my show to fact check everything for you that you don't believe. Go look it up yourself. You guys aren't dumb, right? You always talk about how smart you are. Look it up. Ask the question.
Minnesota suburb, this one called St. Peter, a woman sat alone in her car, observing and recording ICE officers as they patrolled her community. This should go without saying, but it clearly needs to be said anyway. What this woman was doing is fully protected by the Constitution. observing and recording federal agents, local law enforcement.
Thanks, Raina.
Is a First Amendment right. You get that right by being born in the United States of America, being a resident of the United States of America. It's not suspicious. It's not a crime. But ICE doesn't like that people are watching them, tracking their illegality. So what happened next should alarm every American citizen. 3 unmarked ICE vehicles began chasing this woman down a rural road. When she didn't pull over, they boxed her in. As soon as she stopped, these 3 masked agents jumped out of their vehicles immediately with guns drawn, screaming at her to get out of her car. Again, she has committed no crime, no traffic violation. She refused. She calmly asserted her rights. The agents then forced her door open, dragged this woman onto the road, handcuffed her. This is an unarmed woman who had committed no crime. She's alone on a country road, and an unmarked car boxes her in. Out jumps masked men with guns and drag her out of her car. That is not the United States of America. That is Stalinist Russia. That is Maduro's Venezuela. We don't allow in this country masked men to pull over law-abiding citizens.
Well, we do now because I don't know why. We can't admit that we're like fascist.
In unmarked cars and dragged them out onto the road. They put her in her vehicle. They began driving her in this car to Minneapolis. About 20 minutes later, the agents received a call from their supervisor. The woman's husband had contacted the St. Peter Police Department and reached the police chief, and the chief called the ICE officers and told them they were violating the law and to let this woman out. The only reason we know this story is because when her husband arrived, he started recording it. And we have these frightening images. For every incident that we see like this, there are hundreds others that we don't.
Right, keep going. How about kids? How about protecting
Roosevelt
kids?
High School.
Are we worried about protecting kids, MAGA?
It's outside of Roosevelt High School. And on a Wednesday afternoon in Minneapolis, while students and faculty were gathered outside of the high school for early dismissal, armed, masked Border Patrol officers, some from the elite Special Forces team, crossed over onto school property and began tackling people. They handcuffed 2 members of the faculty. They released chemical irritants into the crowd of students and teachers. And in videos taken by witnesses, you can see the agents firing tear gas. This is at a school. Just when the kids are all congregated after school.
Yeah, fuck those kids though, right?
Outside the school. They're firing tear gas into these students. Chaos erupts. Dozens of kids run. They take shelter at a nearby library. Let me say that again. Children are running from federal agents who are tear gassing them to find shelter in a nearby library. One school official told a reporter that the agents didn't care. They were animals. I've never seen people behave like this. The school was forced to close for the rest of the week. Under both Republican and Democratic administrations before the Trump administration, there was a policy that ICE did not operate in sensitive locations, in schools, and hospitals, and churches, and daycares, places where there were lots of little kids.
MAGA sees like the videos and the pictures, and they're like, oh, it's got to be fake news. Everything I don't like is fake.
Sacred places. These aren't supposed to be battlegrounds. These are places where children and other vulnerable populations are known to be. But this continues. Schools are under assault. And so what are we saying? not another dime for DHS if they're going to use taxpayer dollars to turn schools into scenes of terror. The use of federal funds to conduct immigration enforcement at sensitive locations should be prohibited, full stop.
Do we have any of you MAGA folks want to talk about how we're treating children? Or are we just going to be quiet the rest of the time? How about once murders happen? Like, how do we hold police accountable when murders actually happen? Why aren't they being held accountable?
You probably recognize this car. That's the blood of Renee Good. This photo was taken after an ICE agent shot and killed her, an unarmed American citizen, a mother of 3. But here's the story I want to tell, not the story of the incident, the story of what happened after the incident. After the incident, career federal prosecutors did exactly what they were supposed to do. They moved quickly to preserve evidence. They began coordinating with state authorities to investigate a potential use of excessive force. The Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, these are the experts when it comes to police shootings, were prepared to work alongside the FBI to determine the facts. But they never got to determine the facts. The career federal prosecutors never got to do their job because the Trump administration intervened. Senior officials at the Department of Justice shut.
That's an interesting comment. ICE isn't awful. You morons are making them awful. So they're awful? Is that what it doesn't make much sense, does it?
Down the investigation. The Trump administration shut down the investigation of the murder of Renee Good. Why? Because they worried that the investigation would actually come to a factual conclusion. Because the Trump administration had decided within hours that Renee Good was a terrorist.
Remember, Donald Trump lied about Renee Good. Kristi Noem, the first thing they did, they went out and lied. Donald Trump said that the agent was run over by the car and it couldn't believe that he survived after watching the video. When he found out that the agent had left the hospital and had survived, he couldn't believe it. Kristi Noem said that there was a bunch of agents trying to get a car out of a snowbank and that Renee Good rammed them. They both lied and then covered it up. If it's so obvious, I don't know why they need to lie.
And they were only interested in an investigation that confirmed their political judgment. The career prosecutors refused to go along, and instead they resigned. When political pressure...
he was run over? Crazy that he was run over? Yeah, he wasn't run over. He got his knee bonked. He literally got a bruise. You get run over.
Overrides independent investigation, justice fails, and democracy dies. This is exactly why we are demanding that if we're going to send our taxpayer dollars to fund ICE, we have to be able to protect the authority of states and localities to investigate potential crimes.
Wait, you think he was run over? This is fucking crazy. He wasn't. He got out of the way. He fired 2 more shots from the side of the vehicle. How could he fire into the vehicle from the side if it was running him over? He could pop up and shoot from the back if he was run over. No, we don't even have to watch this video. We've watched it a million times. He was not run over. Do you know what run over? Maybe you don't know what words mean. If a car runs over you, it goes over the top of you. He was standing in front of the car drove forward, he moved, he got a little bump on his knee, and then he fired 3 shots. That's crazy. That's fucking crazy.
Including excessive force by federal officers. Evidence has got to be...
Did he have internal bleeding? Yeah, a bruise is internal bleeding. The way that it's listed, like having a bruise is internal bleeding. If he had internal bleeding, do you think he would have been released and was back at work the next day? He was in the hospital for like 2 hours. You think they're putting him back out to work the next day if it was like severe internal bleeding? The way that the way I can't remember. Somebody can probably tell me exactly what it says, but like he literally had a bruise, and that's not true, John. I do not live with my mother. I have my own place, and I've got a couch right next to me where I regularly fuck your dad.
Preserved and shared, and investigations have to be impartial. That's not a wild demand. Just investigate murders. Investigate the killing of American citizens, like we have always done. Under no circumstances should we be funding a Department of Homeland Security that believes, as the Vice President said, that they have complete immunity for killing American citizens. Independent investigations, a pretty reasonable demand.
How are we defending assault of an officer? It wasn't an assault on an officer. That officer was acting outside of the scope of their own duties. That officer put themselves in harm's way, and that officer then murdered Renee Good. And if it ever gets to trial in Minnesota, that's what will happen. He'll be charged with murder. How about this? And now, MAGA's not going to care about this because they don't care about people who are here who are undocumented. They think that any treatment is okay. But for anybody with a heart, this is troubling.
This is a letter. You're not going to be able to read this 14-year-old's actually pretty legible handwriting. But her name is Ariana. And Ariana and her mom, Stephanie, were in the country legally. They were immigrants to this country, but they were playing by the rules. Her mom had gotten a work permit. They were doing their regular check-ins with ICE. And then everything changed.
Which is somebody who's here legally, right? They're going through the legal process.
One day they walked in to do their regular check-in, again, complying with the law, applying for asylum, had gone and gotten a work permit, not working under the table. They went to do their check-in, and they were swept away and detained. You have this image that the Trump administration tries to proffer that they're going after violent criminals. Or maybe they're going after only the people who snuck into the country. No. Ariana and her mom, Stephanie, came to the United States legally, applied for asylum legally, got a work permit legally, were showing up to their check-ins, and they were sucked into the detention system. 14 years old. The law says you're supposed to keep kids in detention for only 25 days. Ariana was there for 45 days. Again, ICE violating the law. This is
no
a letter.
problem,
You're
though,
not
right?
going to be able.
You just mistreat them all you want. I'm actually just being quiet, like watching the chat. It's wild to just see the lack of humanity here, over and over and over.
America. The Bill of Rights still matters here. The Constitution still matters here. In this country,
Trump is a fledgling wannabe dictator. There we go. Thank you, Pink. Jen said a hematoma is a localized collection of clotted or partially clotted blood trapped in tissues, an organ, or a space, typically caused by broken blood vessels from trauma, injury, or surgery. Appearing as painful, right? Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Hematoma is what we were looking for there.
we don't have unidentified masked men ripping American citizens out of their cars. We don't allow federal law enforcement officers to shoot and kill American citizens with impunity. We allow people to apply for legal status. We don't choose to intentionally traumatize children. We don't let officials wander around communities listening for accents and zip tying people who don't speak the way that they think Americans should speak. We are demanding that ICE follow the law. We are asking our Republican colleagues to join us in strengthening the law to make sure that these roving patrols, these murders with impunity, this traumatizing of children, the tear gassing of schools ends. We would still enforce American immigration laws.
Yeah, kind of like we did before. Kind of like we did in the Trump administration, the Biden administration, the Obama administration, where we deported far more people. But we didn't have masked agents going around unlawfully detaining people. We weren't murdering American citizens. We weren't tear gassing kids at school. Better numbers without all the violence. MAGA would say, I want the violence. I don't really care about the numbers.
But we would do it in a humane, legal way. So I appreciate the time of my colleagues today. I wanted to walk you through what's happening. This is all still happening. Just because all the TV cameras aren't in Minneapolis any longer doesn't mean that these practices aren't still real. And until ICE decides to act in a legal manner, we shouldn't give them one more dime. That's our constitutional responsibility.
Yeah, call your members of Congress.
This isn't America.
I shouldn't get another single cent from anybody. You can't just abuse Americans. You can't abuse undocumented immigrants who have rights, regardless of what MAGA tells you, whatever their feelings might be. These people have rights. They have due process. And just beating on them and treating them inhumanely and throwing them in concentration camps, like, that's not going to sit well for the rest of history. The world's watching. The world is ashamed. Many of us are ashamed, and it is alarming to see how many people every day are like, yeah, we love this shit. But rest assured that on every single metric when it comes to immigration, when it comes to enforcement of policy, when it comes to ICE, when it comes to CBP, when it comes to Kristi Noem, when it comes to Tom Homan, when it comes to Greg Bovino, when it comes to Donald Trump, name them. Every one of them is underwater in polling. The majority of Americans, the overwhelming majority of Americans, don't agree with this. There's just like that 30% of voters left that are in a cult and will justify everything. So this type of stuff does matter. Like, this type of messaging matters. And the more people see this, the more people with souls will feel this. And hopefully we can continue to put pressure on those members of Congress to defund all this shit. So tough way to end, but that is the end of my week, and it's been a good week. I appreciate all you guys' support. Thanks for helping us knock out the gift goal today. Do we have a raid set up on Twitch, by the way? I keep forgetting to check that. I have gaming consoles older than DHS. You're so dramatic. Shut the fuck up. Yeah, I am. Like, yeah, I'm dramatic. Yeah, I don't like people being abused. You're a cold, heartless piece of shit. I'd rather be dramatic. I have feelings. I have emotions. And yeah, this stuff tugs at my heartstrings. It's weird when it doesn't. I'm baffled by the people who watch this and don't give a fuck. Did we say we had one? Gus text? Yeah, we'll do Gus. We'll raid Gus. So if somebody wants to set that up. And until Monday, when I see you guys next, take care of yourselves. If you can go outside and touch grass, touch grass. If you can't touch grass, smoke grass. If you don't smoke grass, best of luck to you. I don't know how you're going to make it through the weekend, but I hope all goes well. Drink lots of water. Say nice things about yourself. Be nice to your friends and your family and all those that are around you. I will see you guys Monday morning, bright and early, and every weekday morning, 8:30 a.m. to noon Pacific Standard Time, right here where you're watching. And we'll be back on TikTok on Monday for as long as they keep us up there. Just a reminder, if you could engage in some of our content, if you're watching on YouTube or TikTok or Twitch, if you want to put a little like there. Make sure you're subscribed. And if you want to join us for members-only events, we have paid subscriptions. Merch is in the bio where you can get the healthcare hoodie I was wearing yesterday. You can also get the Shushies hoodie that I'm wearing today. That was Millie stole this name and made it her entire identity. So she should probably owe me royalties on that, but we won't even worry about it. And until I see you next time, take care of yourselves, stay cute and cool, and have a great summer.